Three, two, one, ghost face. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 3, 2, 1 Ghost. As always, I'm your host face with a silent G, Kyle, and we're talking about a solo ghost face situation here today. But I still have my backup, my buddy, my confidant, my other host face, Natalie. Hey, how are you?
Good. Are you excited we made it back to the millennium?
Yes, we did. Um, it was a scary time for people. You had to. Did you feel? Did you like actually like worry about the year 2000 and like the computers like going crazy and
I
like
was
deleting
thir
whatever like, we had?
I was 13, so I had
Mhm.
no real stock in that. Like what the fuck am I gonna care about with my computer?
Yeah, I was like, I guess I'm just gonna wait and find out. Like as a, as a child, I'm not really gonna. I don't know, and I don't think we even turned our computer off.
That's
I don't think.
risky. That was
Yeah,
risky.
I just remember it just being a whole thing. I was hoping something weird would happen, like
Yeah, me too.
like nothing like crazy, but
No.
like, we lived in, we used to live in California, but we were living in California at the time. So I'm like, you know, we get earthquakes, relatively common from all on the spectrum, all sorts of sizes and lengths, not really, but it would have been nice to get like a nice little rumble, like, you
From
know,
from Y2K,
yeah,
that's not what it
like,
was.
I know,
That's
but just
it had nothing to do. Just in case anyone isn't aware of this situation, like give it a Google and you'll find that it had nothing to do with natural disasters.
No, it didn't. But it was like, I, oh my God. I mean, I was alive at the time. I mean, I think I just remember that like basically computers just didn't know what to do with themselves,
Yeah,
rolling
yeah,
over from 99 to 00, thinking like,
yeah.
oh no, computers are gonna, I guess, think it's 1900, I guess. I don't know
And then
what
just
that.
erase all of your most precious information and banking and whatever else was on computers at the time. I don't even know like how much important stuff was actually on computers
all
at that
my
time.
all my AIM accounts and
Yeah.
awkward. Don't worry about it. I had this like
The
weird
chat
half.
roulette account.
No, I don't think chat roulette was there yet. Oh, jeez. Oh, I'm glad chat roulette didn't exist by the time, or at least during that time. But I mean, those chat rooms though, that was the Wild West.
That was the Wild West. Like as a kid, just like popping into those. What the fuck?
Yeah. So I guess, I would lose my AIM. So okay, wait. So this is the year 2000. I would lose my AIM accounts. I would lose this like Flash game that was based on I Still Know What You Did Last Summer,
God.
where it was like kind of like a maze and you were Julie and you had to get through, but you also had, I guess maybe it was Pac-Man-esque a little bit because instead of like the ghost kind of rolling around and chasing you, it was the fisherman, right? Um, and then I think some weird knockoff of like Super Mario Brothers, but with like South Park characters. I don't know. There's weird shit you could find on the internet those
Yeah,
days.
that's true. Just weird games. I don't remember what PC gaming I was doing at the time, but I do remember I played a lot of video games like on the family computer.
Oh
'Cause I
yeah.
didn't have my own PlayStation.
So, hey everybody, welcome to the Millennium. We are talking about Scream 3, in our the third film in our Scream series. Can you believe we're already well, so far halfway through.
Halfway
Fuck.
for now.
That's or at least by the end of at the end of this episode, we'll be halfway through. Right.
Hmm.
So, um, the first one came out in 1996. Second one, real quick turnaround, came out basically a year later, right, in December
Hmm.
1997. And then this one had a little bit of a break. And this one is, I feel, a lot more known for, even though they had more time to make this movie, theoretically, this movie, I think, is more known for its weird background or, behind the scenes drama,
Hmm.
maybe, than the other two. And you would think maybe that benefit of additional time would have mitigated that. And I think that's why it was such a shock that Scream 2 was as good as it was, because really, I mean, when you're churning out movies like that, cough, cough, saw, right? Like those,
One a
like,
year.
like Jesus Christ, like those movies. I mean, even those. I don't know.
It's
The Saw
very
movies
convoluted.
very convoluted, and they were just trying to churn out scripts so quickly that
Hmm.
I think they were just repurposing, at least the second one, they just repurposed some other script and said, we can make this a Saw movie. The other thing too is, Wes Craven's back to direct this one. And we have our principal cast, our survivors from Scream 2
Hmm.
that are back. But one key element to this stew is Kevin Williamson, who wrote a spec for this. And, remember we talked about this in Scream 1 and Scream 2 is that, when he sold this script for Scream, he had these kind of 5-page outlines for Scream 2, where they go to college. That was, of
Hmm.
course, he wrote that, out into a more proper script, and that became Scream 2. This one, he had also a 5-page outline, but he was not like, at this point, he was definitely super top shit. He had well, of course, show running Dawson's Creek. I don't know if he was still doing
Hmm.
that at that time, if he
I
was the
think
showrunner
so.
the entire way through. Um, he had also, I think The Faculty had come out like a year prior.
Yeah, 1999.
Fuck, that movie kicks so much ass. I love The Faculty.
We'll get there.
Yeah. How many, yeah, I guess I'm trying to think how many people from The Faculty uh starred in a Super Bowl halftime show. It
Just the
certainly
one.
wasn't
Just the one.
just the one. And I thought he did a pretty good job. I don't know about you.
Yeah, he did. He's a fucking usher.
Yeah. Dude,
Chorus.
people I
Oh
don't know. I just
boy.
saw some discourse that people for some reason did not like Ludacris showing up and did not think
Okay,
Luda brought
whoever those people are need to fuck off right now.
100%.
I knew Lil Jon was going to show up. Like I was like, I knew he was going to show up, and I was super excited about that. But then when Ludacris popped up, I was like, fuck yes, 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 yes. And my son is just watching me watch this show, and he's like, why is he taking off his shirt? I was like, is he's fucking Usher? Don't ask me any more questions. Mommy's busy.
Yeah. Mom's having a moment.
Yeah.
You
You need
need
to
to
get the
go
fuck
into it.
out.
You need to go stand in a corner and fucking wait. Um So Kevin Williamson, he had also, I think, directed his first movie as well, Teaching Mrs. Tingle. Did you ever
Oh
watch that
yeah.
one?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember that movie that well. I remember it being very Kevin Williamson in the way that like the teenagers communicate with each other, but like it's just an odd cast, like Katie Holmes and Barry Watson. Like it felt very CW. I remember her friend, the girl that was like wanted to be an actress. I liked her character a lot. She was really over the top. But yeah,
You
I
had
don't remember
actually,
really liking that movie.
you actually had hell of a cast with like, I mean, well, Barry Watson. They were really trying to like late '90s, early
They're
2000,
really trying to push him.
early 2000s. They were really trying to, yeah, push Barry Watson as a thing.
Hmm. He was
Um,
hot. He was hot then.
oh yeah,
That
definitely.
hair. Hmm.
And Katie Holmes, of course, I had a super
Hmm.
crush on Katie Holmes. But yeah, you had like, sorry, hey everyone, we're talking teaching Mrs. Tingle. But I was just looking, I just pulled up the Wikipedia on that, and you're like, fuck, you got like Helen Mirren,
Yeah.
Jeffrey Tambor, who's and then Molly Ringwald, Vivica A. Fox. I always love Vivica A. Fox when she shows
Hmm.
up in something. Um, so lo and behold, he was unavailable. Kevin Williamson. Sorry,
Hmm.
I always get back to my points. He was unavailable to write this one. Now, then they bring in Aaron Kruger, an unrelated to
To
Freddie,
Freddie.
to Frederick, yeah, to,
Frederick.
to Frederick Belvedere Kruger, Esquire.
You're on one tonight. It's going to take us a long time to start this movie.
Hey, look, I just feel like there's a lot we need to set up because, and two, like, of course, I'll try to be brief. You can read through the Wikipedia on this, but this movie, of course, so you bring in a new writer, right? That you have a new voice, and also you're dealing with the normal, I guess, kind of par for course kind of scream drama where you're, having to rewrite scripts on the fly. You are trying
Mm-hmm.
to keep, the killer reveals a secret. There was at least an additional killer at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Kevin Williamson's outline, a different killer and plot entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I was reading, the original plot for this movie was that it was going to be back in Woodsboro. We actually had a message from a listener that brought up this potential plot of Stu um, being essentially still alive, but
Mm-hmm.
being this ringleader of like a cult of high schooler ghost faces that would all be
Yeah.
targeting other teenagers and ultimately Sydney. And it would be like that would be the
Mm-hmm.
twist is that it would be Stu kind of running it. But due to of course, Columbine happening just a few months before principal photography for the movie, a lot of that was changed. Um
Yeah.
and taking out basically, you know,
Even high school in general. Like no
yeah,
high schoolers.
when they were asking Aaron Kruger about it, who was like, well, I guess, the Weinsteins brought him in and they were like, all right, well, we don't have Kevin Williamson, but we got this guy. Don't worry, he's going to be great. And he's like, cool. All right, so what's Scream about? I guess there was, Wes Craven had to help out a lot in this regard because the initial drafts of what Aaron Kruger was providing, I mean, he had read the scripts for Scream 1 and 2, had
Mm-hmm.
watched the movies, of course, but like, I think that there was some problems, sticking the landing, so to speak, as far as like fully kind of representing characters like they normally would. I think
Mm-hmm.
one thing was, Sid, by Scream 3 was going to be this like, Linda Hamilton type, the super fucking
Mm-hmm.
like, which she does kind of
Yeah,
become
she
that. And
she shows up pretty hard.
and then potentially without mentioning any future movies, I think that there's a potential for her to become even more kind of that part.
If she even
um
makes it through
I know.
this
So,
movie.
well, I mean, if there's anything about trilogies, Natalie, is all bets are off. And whatever the fuck Randy was saying too.
I wrote it
Postmortem.
down, don't worry.
Oh boy, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of rules in this movie, but this, of course, causes, well, you got a new writer, and then all of these kind of outside circumstances happening that really shift the direction of this movie, from being really completely unlike what it was supposed to be originally, like even in the
Mm-hmm.
slightest, right? Like, I mean, like that's a far cry from what this movie ultimately became. And even it wasn't even just necessarily Aaron Kruger, because Aaron Kruger had to bow out, at some point, while there was still, script tweaks being done. So it was actually another writer whose idea it was to even have Roman be the killer.
Wow, geez.
Yeah.
Fuck
And
that.
and the,
Fuck that writer.
or at least Roman being the killer, or at least or the idea of Roman being the half brother of Sydney. Both
Mm.
being dumb,
So
unfortunately.
the killer and the motive.
Yeah. So a lot of chaos, a lot of drama, a lot of script changes, a lot of rewrites, and a lot of and then a real big intentional turn away from violence, like too much violence, like the blood and
Or
the
blood
gore.
in general. Like there's like
Yeah,
barely any blood in this movie.
it is very toned down compared to the
Mm-hmm.
others. Especially when you're like, gosh, this was a movie that had a teenager hanging from a fucking tree with her entrails on the outside.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the movie goes, movies went, kind of hard up until this point. But
Mm-hmm.
so all to say, it's weird the movie that we get out of this. And I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
provide all that quick context up front. I'm going to take a pause, take a breath, and ask you, take me back to the early Millennium and in Natalie's world. And I don't know, tell me about the first time you saw this movie.
I saw this in the movie theater with my mom. My mom loves horror, and so she was already like pretty like invested in the first two Scream movies, so we were really excited to see it together. As a 13-year-old, I thought this shit rocked. Like I loved Scream 3 when I was 13 because it it was a Scream movie. And like, even still, I still enjoy this movie more than a lot of other movies that are a mess because it is a Scream movie and it has characters I love. But yeah, I loved it when I had first seen it. And then as I've gotten older and more Scream movies have presented themselves, which I won't talk about or, acknowledge, but they exist. Um, then this one fell back for me quite a bit. Like it was hanging on nostalgia for a long time. And I now like I've lost that nostalgia. So now I kind of just see it as a Scream movie in the franchise and base it off of that. Um, did you see this in the theater?
I did not. There was a very unfortunate brief period in my life where didn't watch a whole lot of horror movies
Oh my
and
God.
wasn't like super interested in that. I think
Podcast canceled, everyone. I'm so
I
sorry.
know, hey, but that was like 2000, like to 2001. Like those years were kind of lost, or at least it. I circled back, so I
So
watched
so
this.
glad I wasn't there for those years.
Yeah, I know. So this was a rental for me after the fact. And
Like years later?
no, I would say maybe like
Okay.
I probably watched it in 2001, 2002. And I think I remember it being pretty meh, compared to the
Hmm.
others. Like at the time, it
Oh
was
yeah.
like I liked again, it's like, you visiting old friends again, right? And then now I really struggle with it, especially when I think that there's a lot of reevaluating this movie. And I
Hmm.
think people have a kinder light on it now than maybe when it first came out. I
Oh,
don't necess
really?
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
necessarily agree with that.
I don't either.
I'm going to be critical, but I think I'm going
Hmm.
to be fair
Hmm.
during this. But again, like you
Same.
said, it's just like it's still ultimately it's a Scream movie and ultimately the most consistent slasher franchise there is,
Hmm.
right? As far as like, just keeping some bare level quality. And then if this is the low mark for the series so far,
Hmm.
that's not bad at all,
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I
there
agree.
are plenty of worse third entries in a series.
I think what they did right and wrong at the same time, which sounds like a dumb thing to say, but hopefully if you're listening, you understand what I'm saying because you love these movies too and like have some frustration or full on love for this. They really lean into the humor aspect of it because they couldn't lean into the gore and the terror of it, which there are times where it works, but it's a fucking lot. Like I don't think every single character needed to be a comedian. Like not everyone needed to be funny because I think previously in Scream 1 and Scream 2, like every character had their own way of being funny. Like Gail always has her way of being funny of just being this like horrible bitch. And, however, she's communicating with people, like just it's Gail's world and everybody else lives in it. Like that was comedy in its own way. And then Dewey being, a buffoon is also like comedy in its own way, but it wasn't like this huge, everybody's got jokes kind of situation, whereas that's what's happening in this movie. And I like it a lot for certain characters. Like we needed a little bit more seriousness, I think.
Yeah, I never felt any real suspense or terror, I think, watching this movie. It felt
Especially for Gail, Dewey, or Sydney, like at no point was I concerned for them or their safety at all.
and because there was so little blood and gore, I was like, I mean, I don't know. I've seen Dewey look way fucking worse and he ended up
Oh
okay.
yeah.
So am I supposed to even believe anyone's dead at this point? I don't even know because I've
Movie magic.
movie magic, right?
The other thing about this movie, and again, like I won't talk about future movies. Great. Now I'm doing it. Is this is now the second movie that talks about stab like quite a bit. Like now we're like really leaning into this movie inside of a movie universe and you lose like any references to other horror movies that exist. Like I can't think of there's not like too many like there's not as much referencing of other films as there were in the first two. Like
Yeah.
we kind of are just like clinging on to Stab and what happened in Woodsboro. So that also kind of, as a horror fan, like you like when characters bring up like your favorite movies or, they reference something or even if it's just like a quick mention of something and you're like, oh, I know what they're talking about. Like you lose that too. So I do have good things to say about this movie, but there's just a lot of crazy and weird shit going on in the whole thing, like from beginning to end.
The series certainly has an issue with feeling that it has to be beholden to the first movie and
Yes.
the events of the first movie. And we'll see how that goes going forward. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting. There was a quote from Aaron Kruger where he was talking about how, it's like, each movie, like, it's just how, the characters need to go to, bigger places. The first one's high school, the second one's college, the third one's Hollywood. And I'm like, first of all, those that started in high school, then went to college, that's only two. That's Randy and Sydney. And then
Yeah,
from
yeah.
there, I was like, y'all killed everybody. So I don't know who's
Yeah.
making this arc from high school to college to Hollywood.
Because
Um,
Gail was already destined for Hollywood. So
yeah, I
there's
know. Yeah,
that.
yeah, we'll talk about that. Fucking Dewey, fucking trying to hold her back, man. What the fuck? So, but let's do what we did last time, and let's just quick talk about our recurring cast, our
Hmm.
returning folk, and then hop into the opening, and we'll introduce the new characters as they come.
It's not too big of a returning cast.
Well, and that's the nice thing is because it actually gets, yeah, theoretically
Gets
it's smaller and
slimmer
smaller
every time.
each time. So you have your you wouldn't call them your original core four, right? Because I always struggle with including Cotton with this group.
Oh, I thought
Co-
you were talking about Nancy O'Dell.
oh yeah, I thought here and I thought you were going to come back and talk about Mr. Prescott.
He's in my notes. He's in my notes.
He does come back. So we've got Neil Prescott who returns, um, shows up for a scene and says, hey, you should
Peace
come
out.
home.
Murders
What the
again.
fuck? Yeah, and then he pieces out. And then, of course, you got fucking the return of Nancy O'Dell. Love her. So,
Yes.
and I was talking about all the other chaos that was happening behind the scenes, the tumultuousness that led to this movie being made. And then one of them is something I didn't even bring up. It was the fact that Nev Campbell, our star, was really only available to film a very
Mhm.
small portion of this movie. So,
Which is very obvious.
which is very obvious because she is either at her house, some
Hmm.
other giant fucking house that she can
I
afford to
know.
live
How
in.
did how did you afford that house? The lawsuits against Gale Weathers
That's what I was
and the
thinking.
stab movies, maybe?
She's got a, I'm sorry, but she has a bachelor's in theater, assuming she graduated from Windsor, right? Um,
You don't need to apologize for that.
Again, and it looks like it's still kind of Northern California area where
Hmm.
she is, somewhere deep in, or not Northern California, more like Central California.
Hmm.
Maybe she got like settlements from like the Loomis family or something, or
All sorts of
I don't
things. I
know.
would bet she sued the shit out of the Stab franchise and then had all those like the publishers for Gale's books. I would go after them. Like so many things. You make money off
Yeah,
that.
money off the movie rights and all that, I would think. I don't, maybe, you never
Like how
know.
much is
She's,
that crisis hotline paying her to live in that fucking house? Not
yeah, it's pretty,
enough.
yeah. Dang, living the dream working from home, 20 years before COVID, right?
Oh yeah, that was rare
Yeah,
unless you're a business owner.
I know, dang. So you've got Sydney who's back, and yeah, again, she's either at that house or at the police station
Hmm.
or at the house at the end. Well, I guess no, there's that scene running through the set of Woodsboro, which was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good. But I don't know, any feelings about Sydney Prescott? No, Nev Campbell?
There's just not enough of her in
Yeah.
this movie, like in different places. Like I think it's stuff like that where like when I was watching it as a kid, like I didn't really notice things like that. And then as you get older and you realize like how movies are made and like you realize parts of the cast aren't ever together until certain scenes and like you start to put the pieces together that it kind of like takes the magic away from it where you're like, this is your main fucking character. Like we couldn't plan around her schedule. Like we couldn't, set some things like back to get more time with her. And seeing Dewey and Gail and Sydney all together is like magic on screen. So for them to not even like be in the same room together until gosh, like well over an hour into the movie, that kind of stinks. But I think Sydney is always she's always great. I mean, hallucinating or ghosts aside, I'm not really sure what was going on there, but we'll get into that too.
Yeah, you do get some hallucinations, maybe some possible supernatural situations. I wish the movies would eventually just go hard supernatural,
Go nuts.
just like Friday the 13th, just like Halloween, just like fucking go
Hmm.
for it. Like make
Yeah, why not?
yeah. So you'd mentioned Gail and Dewey. They are together so much in this movie that I think we can just kind of talk
Hmm.
about them as a pair. Also, they got married between
In
Scream
real
2 and
life.
Scream 3 in real life, right?
Hmm.
I like these characters a lot. I don't know if I care so much about the on again, off again kind of situation between them.
Yeah, it gets tired.
But I think you need to, lean on some reason for them to just at least always kind of be at odds at first. Because I think that's when
Hmm.
they play off each other best. I get bored when they like each other. I like
Oh,
when
for
they're
sure.
constantly going
I
back
think
and forth.
that's what's so great about Gail and Dewey is like you would never in a million years put two people like that together. And at the same time, they've got this like opposites attract thing, like when they're not getting along, their like tension is better because it like in real life, they're like fully a married couple. And then on screen, they're playing people who have broken up and are still very much attracted to each other. So they have amazing chemistry, like when they're, like going back and forth. And David Arquette is so delightfully dumb as well. And like Gail looks like so annoyed by him, but yet still like she's just like, damn, I'd still fuck him though. Like,
Yeah.
so they show all of those emotions so well. I think Gail and Dewey are just so great. I like the way, not to like skip ahead too much, but I like the way the dynamic of them with Jennifer Jolie plays out. Like that also adds another like fun aspect to their little, breaking up, getting back together situation. I like it.
Yeah, I don't think I necessarily have a whole lot of qualms with the movie kind of shifting most of the focus on those two, Dewey and Gale.
No, they're great. But it's about Sydney. Like that's what's
Yeah.
frustrating because the killer and their motivation is so driven on Sydney that like she should have fully been immersed like in this situation, in the investigation. Like, if it was more linked to Dewey and Gale, one, that could have been really fun.
Yeah.
And two, like, it just would have maybe made a little bit more sense. Or, like, because we were still in like trilogy land and, so early in these films, like, no one would ever dream of Sydney not being in the movie at all. But we were willing to settle for this, like, this weird her being there but not there situation. And Courtney Cox and David Arquette carry this movie pretty well.
Yeah. I think Courtney Cox is pretty fun in this movie.
Oh yeah, she's always so fun. I fucking love her so much.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, her and Parker Posey might. Yeah, I mean, I don't
Oh,
think.
they're so good together.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Another strength of this movie, but we'll talk about in a little bit. But
Hmm.
um, well, I think it's easy to talk about our last survivor and roll that right into the opening scene because we got
Hmm.
our
But
boy
we also
Cotton
have
Weary.
we also have Roger Jackson
I
returning.
That's me. I'm sorry. We always forget Roger Jackson, or I do. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
every time.
Well, and then we
He's the
get less,
MVP.
and we get
We get
less
less
Roger.
of him.
Yeah, because they're
Some
this weird
bullshit.
fucking AI before it existed
Yeah,
bullshit
we
with
we
changing people's voices.
I have thoughts.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But yes,
Leave
Roger
Schreiber.
Jackson, love him. But yeah, Liev Schreiber. A lot of people like this opening, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I actually do like this opening, not completely, but like it has its flaws, but I do like it. I think it's fun and unique. I love Cotton's character trajectory. Like I love that I was like a show called 100% Cotton. That's so fucking fun. I
I love
love
it.
that and I would watch it just based off of that. Yeah, so I do like the opening scene. The only thing I really don't like about it, you've got Roman slash Ghostface trying to figure out where Sydney is. And I mean, eventually, like we got that information, but I'm like, that didn't even need to be. It could have just been like send Sydney a message for me or some bullshit like that, you know. So I didn't like that. Like Ghostface was trying to investigate. I feel like Roman could have figured that shit out from anyone else. Like go after Dewey. Don't go after fucking Cotton Weary. Like what are you doing?
Why the fuck would Cotton know where Sydney was? And why the fuck would Sydney want
Exactly.
Cotton to know where she was? It's like, yeah,
Exactly.
okay, he helps her out at the very end, but like let's not fucking pretend like she doesn't like him.
No, or like really fully trust him. He was fucking her mom. Like we
Yeah.
don't trust Cotton Weary. Like thanks for the favor of saving my life, but like we're not gonna, you know, we did the Diane Sawyer interview presumably in between films and now we go our separate ways. So that piece I don't like of the opening. And then the other thing is my question of his stab games that his girlfriend refers to. What kind of role play is happening in this situation?
Yeah,
Like what the fuck?
there's a lot to unpack with Cotton in this opening
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
One, first of all, I appreciate that he doesn't want Christine to die. That's good.
Hmm.
I appreciate that. It's his
Yeah,
girlfriend. That's nice.
yeah.
Let's not pretend he wasn't being a fucking perv literally just moments
Oh, for
before.
sure. Yeah.
Now, granted, it happened to be Roman calling using this woman's
Hmm.
voice, right? But he was dude's a fucking horn
Yeah.
dog. Like what the,
Oh yeah. Like he definitely like is like in it for the groupies. Absolutely.
And you're right. Yeah, when she's like, Cotton, this better not be another one of your stab games.
Yeah.
And
Like what has
I'm
he done
like,
to this poor woman?
the fact that, and then yeah, you just have to kind of wrap your head around that he was having an affair with this woman who
Hmm.
then was brutally murdered. And he was accused of being the murderer, right? I mean, you know how this all
Went to jail for a year.
comes back, gets all mixed up in this shit. And like I mean, people process their traumas differently, sure. But yes, and I mean, I think he should process that with a therapist and
Yeah.
not with sexual games based on just the murder of children.
Yeah, we're assuming these are sex games. Like it's not like just,
Yeah.
you know, like and scene. Like no, like he's making it like a whole thing. By the way, there's like a whole genre of porn where like people dress up as Ghostface and fuck people. Like it's a thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah, that
I don't
exists.
like
I know.
I'm gonna be thinking about that
The
the whole
research
time
team told me
now.
that just so you all know.
Fucking pervs. I'm gonna be thinking about that the whole time now. Oh no. So uh now one thing I don't like about this movie is in this opening rather, and kind of
Yeah, do
like
you
you
like
said,
it?
no, I don't. It becomes
Hater.
very like you said, it the movie doesn't really reference or subvert any horror tropes anymore. I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting. Originally, Christine wasn't even supposed to have like a speaking role. She was just going to be dead when he gets
Mm-hmm.
there. But then it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
changed, kind of on the fly where because they literally, I think, flew her in like the day before or something like that, or the day
Mm-hmm.
of, I don't know. And, but you open on, so, you have Ghostface calling him and, saying like, oh, I'm here at your home, I can, and he's like watching Christine in the shower,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, why do you have to be a perv like that? And I just felt like, okay, so you have the first movie with the Drew Barrymore opening, and then you have the second one where it shows the fictionalized version the stab version of that opening.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, her being in the shower, right? Opening, whereas
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't, originally. And I just feel like in this one, here we are again now in the Scream, universe,
Yeah, yeah.
reality world, whatever. Like, where this ghost face is like now like perving on women in the shower, and she's there to just
Mm.
be naked, get out of the shower, and be killed, right? And look like
Mm-hmm.
an idiot. And I'm like, so I just felt like it becomes a victim to what it was making fun of before. And it just now just becomes this just tired kind of, I don't know. Does that make sense?
It
So,
does, but and maybe I'm giving the writers too much credit here, but do we
mhm.
think that maybe that is like intentional?
I don't think so, but it very well could be.
Okay, here's another thing that really bothers me about this opening scene that I
Sure.
always for every time I forget, and when I see it, I'm like, who the fuck? Who the fuck was okay with this? Like, I love my boy, Wes Craven. His attention to detail is usually immaculate in his films. This, not so much. So, Christine has dry hair, puts on her cute little negligee situation that is presumably her pajamas, and then walks like here's Cotton and starts walking out with sopping wet feet. Like, think about how wet your feet are when you immediately get out of the shower and have not let a towel touch your body. Wet ass footprints for like 10 steps, probably. But her hair is completely dry and her body is completely dry. That shit bothers me so much every single time. And if you haven't noticed it, I'm so sorry to bring it to your attention. It's so fucking dumb. It drives me nuts.
I didn't even catch that. That's great.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a bad move. Like what was the thought process? Why did her feet need to be wet?
Yeah. The Now we're getting post 2000, we're going to get into cell phones being much more common. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
almost everyone's got a cell phone in this one. Um, but
They
you
all
have that
do.
shot in Cotton's house where you see the landline, the
Mm.
wire's been cut, and I was like, that's probably, if I don't know if I remember any of the next movies or whatever, I'm like, I feel like that's the last time that's like a
Yeah,
tool in Ghostface's arsenal is cutting the landline. You know what I mean? Because do you have a landline phone in your house?
no, I we might get one to avoid giving my son a cell phone because at some point
Hmm.
he's like if we're gonna leave him home alone at a certain age, like he has to be able to call us. Like before we had cell phones, we at least had a landline. So like if some shit went down when my mom left me at home, like as a little latchkey kid, like I could at least call her and be like, "Hey, mom," like but
Hmm.
without a cell phone, like he wouldn't be able to call me. So either we have to break and get him the cell phone or we get a landline. And I feel like I'm like, is that even a thing that they offer? Like they're going to see that I'm under 65 and be like, absolutely not. We're leaving.
Yeah.
AT&T is going to be like, no. But no, no landline. And I think this is the last movie where you see landlines, right?
Maybe. We'll find
No,
out.
it's not actually. It's
But
yeah. I'm
we'll talk
sorry.
about when we get to it.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
So
talk to it when we get to it. But this is the last time I think that everybody just has landline and it's normal, like in 2000.
one thing, like, I get it. Calling the police sometimes isn't always your best option, kind of depending on
Hmm.
circumstances. I understand.
Well,
Um,
time sensitive too.
but nobody, like, I mean, you see how like that was actually pretty generous for LA traffic. The Cotton was able to get off that exit for Hollywood Boulevard and even
Oh
just
yeah.
take surface streets and
Yeah,
being
yeah.
able to get through that fast. I'm like, that's not how
She would
LA
have been
works.
dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like,
Dead.
like I would have said, there's no point. There's like, okay,
Yeah.
Ghostface, what do you want me to do? There's no
I'm
point.
like,
But
I'm stuck on the fucking 405. Like, I can't get to you.
multiple times throughout this movie, like nobody thinks like, I have the cell phone that works and I'm calling other people with it. Why didn't I
Hmm.
just call 911 and tell them, hey,
Yeah.
there's a ghost face running around saying fucking shit. Can you go just do a safety check
Yeah.
at my
For my
address?
girlfriend. Yeah.
Because she's not answering and someone said that they're going to kill her. Remember, I'm involved with all of this
Hmm.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then again, like, would he even actually know where Sid was anyway? Like,
No,
yeah.
absolutely
So
not. And I'd be pissed to be Cotton. I'd honestly be pissed to be Cotton because I'd be like, really? I'm getting fucking murdered because you need to know the whereabouts of Sidney Prescott. Like, we're not friends. We are not friends. We have never been friends. Like, I can't believe that this is the reason why I'm dying. I'd be fucking furious. I hope Cotton is a ghost, not a ghost face, but a ghost just haunting everybody who goes into that apartment.
It's one of those things where like he's not guilty, but he's not innocent
Oh my
either
gosh, here you go
situation.
shitting on poor Cotton Weary again. He just saved Sydney's life at the end of the last movie.
Only because of that interview with Diane Sawyer. Like,
He
let's be
said he
real.
was never he said he was never going to hurt her and that he would never. I think the Diane Sawyer interview, he just had to get her to say it, but I don't think he would have let anything happen to her. It was very
Mm.
Gale Weathers of him.
And then, once well, and of course you have this Ghostface can just copy other people's voices. I don't know
Yeah, what do you
how.
think about this voice changer situation? Like that technology doesn't even exist now, right? Here we go
Not
again with me questioning technology in its current state.
well, I mean, that's a lot of the whole situation with like the actors strike that happened last year was, just the advancements in AI. You can like, yeah, you can make a very real replica, like face and voice of somebody, using past, but that's actors where you have like so much,
So much recorded audio of them speaking.
yeah, so they can work up. But I just don't know. I don't think the technology, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but I don't think the technology even exists yet where you can still put something up to your voice and like have it
Hmm.
change like to that clear of, like a impersonation of somebody else in real time like that. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Like Gail Weathers would be the closest one because she's on television all the time. So it's like maybe you'd be able to get her voice in there, but like Dewey's not going around recording himself.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like the voice changer. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Cotton makes it back. And okay, and then of course Ghostface is using Cotton's voice. So Christine's thinking like, no, I'm not going to open that fucking door. Which, right, she shouldn't open the door for anybody anyway. Even if it was Cotton, be like, no, I'm going to stand
Hmm.
here. I'm going to,
I'm gonna call the cops, wait for them to come.
yeah. And then I don't know. It feels like it just kind of goes with like just kind of a whimper once Cotton shows up, and then Ghostface stabs Christine. Fucking rest in peace,
Hmm.
Christine, her first death, and then not before Christine gets a good swing at Cotton's head,
Yeah, she gets some good.
right, with the golf club, and
That's what he gets with those stab games.
that makes it, yeah, that's what and then again, that's what you get for having stab games is when a real
Hmm.
stab situation happens. It's the boy that cried Ghostface.
I'm just so curious as to what was he doing? I want to know so badly.
Well, I think you answered it for me. I think you can watch it online. If he was probably wearing his Ghostface mask, and I don't know. Oh, it's so awful. But yeah. So, and then Cotton kind of barely puts up a fight and is killed. And
Hmm.
then
Yeah, he
he's like,
does. He kind of just gives into it. He's like, I don't want to
yeah,
put up with this shit anymore.
yeah. So I do a general thumbs down to that opening for a
Mm.
number of reasons for the stupid
I
voice change. The
I give it a thumb sideways, and it's not my least favorite opening.
We can kind of pop through a little bit. We did introduce ourselves to Sid right after this. You see
Hmm.
she's hanging out in that beautiful fucking house,
The
deep in the fucking
gorgeous
forest,
fucking
ranch
mansion in the
house.
forest. Yeah, with our
Yeah.
cute dog.
Oh, with that cute dog. I love that dog. I forget his
Yeah.
name. She names him in the movie,
Yeah,
but
he has a name. I don't remember it.
yeah, very sweet retriever. Um,
Yeah.
and then she's doing, the crisis helpline response.
Hmm.
Um, and then we do like pretty quick intros into everybody. We cut
Hmm.
over to Gail, who's over at UCLA
Love
giving,
her.
dude, she's so fucking great. I just wanted to take a note of that introduction to her because she's on top of the world right now.
Hmm.
So she is giving this fucking lecture saying you need to be ready to fucking cut throats to if
She
you want to be
says
on top. What did she say?
she says, break the rules, stop at nothing, be willing to have the world hate you. And I was like, fuck yeah, Gail.
Fuck yeah, dude. And then this dipshit student who clearly was
Ugh.
not paying attention to anything
Yeah, who the
goes,
fuck are you, dude?
So, Miss Weathers, you're saying, we're supposed to do no matter who we hurt, we had to do whatever it takes to get to the top. Tell me, Miss Weathers, was it worth it? And she's
You're like,
like,
yeah.
yeah, did you not like listen to the whole fucking lecture? Yes, the whole point is yes, it's absolutely worth it. Like,
She's like, no regrets.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, this is just some dumb college student that like was asleep for half the lecture, and then I was like, oh, I need to ask something so the professor knows so I can get attendance credit. So was it worth it? So that's when we get um our new character, Mark Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey, who is really just like, hey, I'm a homicide detective, but I'm just gonna just invite all of you into all of this, just give you all the
Yeah.
information that you need. He's
Like,
letting
why don't you do my job?
Yeah. So he connects with Gail, so that's what brings Gail now to the set, right? And this is where we introduce ourselves to the cast of Stab 3 that are at
Mm,
Sunrise Studios. Like, I like this. I like the
I
idea
do
of
too.
like having
Hmm.
the cast members, like especially working with their counterparts, real life counterparts.
Yes.
I think that's great. But why did it just feels like a fucking child wrote this fucking movie sometimes because why do their names have to be so fucking dumb?
Yeah,
Like,
their names are so dumb.
Jesus Christ, like, Jennifer Jolie,
Hmm.
who's clearly, right, supposed to, Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie. But you
Yeah.
also have Angelina Tyler.
Oh
um
yeah.
you've got Tom Prince.
Hmm.
There's another Prince that was in some slasher movies, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and fuck, Tyson Fox.
Hmm.
And Sarah Darling. I don't think are named after anything as like obnoxious as
Hmm.
that. But I just
Tyson Fox is honestly probably the best name out of the group, I think.
yeah, played by Dion Richmond, who was also in Not Another Teen Movie, among other
Hmm.
things. But
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
love him in that.
I watched it was on some TikTok where I was or it was an Instagram reel where it was like this interview with Chris Evans, and they're like, what was the most embarrassing part of your career? And he was like, it was without a beat. He was like, oh yeah, when I had to have a banana up my asshole for Night Another Teen Movie. He was like, he was like,
I love that.
when it's female nudity on the set, they like close the set off. Nobody is allowed in. Nobody's can
Yeah,
watch. It's all just only necessary people. He's like, but for me, everybody showed up and just was pointing and laughing.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Aw, poor Chris Evans. He's so
but
fucking hot.
he's really funny too. I
Yeah,
mean,
he is.
we'll see how problem. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I don't know how problematic it is. But
Hmm.
I remember very much liking Not Another Teen Movie.
I
So
love
spoof
Not
movies
Another Teen
can.
Movie, even if it is like Scream and or I'm sorry, Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2 and maybe 3. I fucking love those movies. The jokes did not age well for some of them, but God, they're funny. They're so dumb and so fun.
I like most of this cast. I think
Hmm.
generally they are, they don't get a whole lot to do. Um,
Yeah,
Tyson especially.
they're just there to
Um,
die. And Tyson lasts a really long time for how little his character is developed, like at all.
I'm surprised he's on like the cover for and like on the
Hmm.
posters for this.
Well, they had
Um,
to put the one black person in the movie on the cover. Like this movie's super white.
I would have like maybe appreciated if maybe he was like the killer because he does disappear for like
Yeah, he disappears for
pretty
a long time.
like a long time. Like he's not part
Hmm.
of that whole thing where yeah, a bunch of folk die at
Hmm.
Jennifer's place after it
Oh
explodes,
yeah. Yeah, he
He's
wasn't
not there
even at
for
that
any of
party.
that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So,
It was
um
probably to make him a red herring, just to have him have something.
and I always appreciate like yeah, the anti-vax stuff, yes, but I
Hmm.
love Jenny McCarthy and Jenny
Was
McCarthy
this was
is
before she was crazy, right?
yeah, I think so. Maybe just before.
Yeah.
We'll see.
She
But
I mean, 90s Jenny McCarthy to like the 2000s, like one, like she's like funny hot. Like she always had like a fun, like goofy sense of humor. and is extremely attractive. Like, and to her, like, look at Jenny McCarthy in the 90s in a bikini. Ooh, like she was a calendar, she was a poster, like she was everything. And she's looking pretty good here. And I think she's like probably like mid to late 30s by this time.
She says she's 35
Yeah,
in the
she says she's
movie,
35 playing a
so who
21-year-old,
knows?
which is probably accurate for her age.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but
she's
I
great. I
like her in
do.
this. Yeah, I like her a lot in this. I kind of wish her character would have actually lasted a little longer.
Yeah, I agree. Even though, um, I mean, gosh, we could probably just jump to it. You know, she's the first death, or well, the first post-opening death.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, anything I'm missing before I hop over to that? Before I hop into our first kill? I mean, like, I'm skipping some plot stuff. You know, of course, you got the Dewey and Gale being reintroduced to each other.
Mm.
I did think it was some of that was pretty funny, that back and forth between them, but
Oh,
go
it's
ahead.
so good. Yeah, it's so, so good. One thing that you skipped, I don't know if you're a Detective Wallace fan, but I fucking love him so much. Because he sounds like a New York detective, but he's just in LA. But they're like, why do you think that Cotton's death is like related to this movie? And like just his dumb lines of like the movie's called Stab. He was stabbed. I love Detective Wallace, so I had to give him a
Yeah,
shout out.
it's a movie. This is the scene where you come with us.
Yeah, his lines are like he commits to these dumb fucking lines. Like, so I got to give him credit because I would be reading this and I'd be like, damn, do I really want this part? And be like, he was like, no, I am gonna make Detective Wallace an icon and a legend. I love Detective Wallace. I like him more
Well,
than fucking Patrick Dempsey's shitty ass character.
yeah, that whole
He
thing
might
was
be my
very
least
weird.
favorite.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, so Detective Wallace is played by Josh Pace,
Hmm.
Pais. Um, Josh Pace was the voice, and I also think wore the suit um, of Raphael in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
No
So
shit. I
that
never knew
Brooklyn
that.
kind of accent, like yeah, he's Raphael, who funny enough was the only Ninja Turtle that talked like he was from New York, but
Yeah, good for
you know,
him. Well, he was out in
yeah,
public the most.
exactly. Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Yeah. So, and there was everyone watching TV down in the sewer in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Of course they're
It's
gonna sound like,
California.
yeah.
Yeah.
So um so I'm like, hell yeah. Between that and remember in Scream 2, with the dude that played the professor in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, he was the theater teacher director in Scream 2. So you're getting plenty of Ninja
Hmm.
Turtles vets coming through here. So
Love that.
always love it. And I'm like, hey, if you're gonna have somebody fucking back you up to solve this fucking Hollywood homicide situation, yeah, dude, you get fucking Raphael on your team. He's a little hot-headed, but and he's gonna have his quips as he does. So I felt like he was bringing Raphael to all of that. So yeah,
Good.
I
I love
appreciate.
that.
So thank you for pausing to highlight that guy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, and then of course, yeah, you do. I think right before the scene with Sarah's death, you do get the one scene with Neil Prescott where he's like,
Hmm.
just come back home. It's like you've disappeared, and she's like,
Hmm.
yeah, because I don't want this shit to keep happening to me all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Let alone, why would the fuck would I go back to Woodsboro of all
Yeah.
places? Why would
No,
I do that? So
absolutely not.
yeah. So any movies that keep going back to Woodsboro, it's like, why?
He's
Stop.
like, have you ever thought about why I never come to visit you and you're always coming here? Like, I'm not going back to Woodsboro. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, right. So, and then we pop back over to the studio, where most everybody's left. Sarah shows up because she gets a call from
Hmm.
Roman saying that, well, at least we're thinking that maybe it's a voice changer, someone pretending to be Roman,
Hmm.
invites Sarah back over to the studio to go over some lines. This death scene and chase scene, honestly, if it's not my favorite kill of the movie, it's I at least want to credit it for I think being the most clever scene in
I
this movie.
agree. I
Um,
have that in my notes too.
Hell yeah, I knew we'd be on the same page
Yeah,
here because I think yes, the whole like switching to anybody's voice is dumb, and I think with
lazy.
and then with a couple like script rewrites, you could have just done away with that whole part entirely. But
Absolutely.
that being said, I like the idea that it was just Roman on the phone, just being
Yeah, yeah,
Roman. I think that that's
yeah.
pretty fun. I
I like him
love
reading lines with her.
yeah. So I thought that was really good. I like when there's a kill, like a long extended kill scene when you see like other kind of passerbys just kind of come
Yeah,
through.
there's
Kind of was
people
talking about
around.
like Sarah Michelle Gellar's death in the last
Yeah,
one. Love that. Just when kind of people are popping in
yeah.
and out. So it's like you think you kind of have almost this kind of safety. Um
Mm-hmm.
not, but I don't think you'd feel especially safe with like a studio security guard. And clearly that guy heard a noise and was like, ah, fuck it. I'm gonna lock
He's like,
up.
eh,
Who
it's time for
cares?
break.
Yeah.
Um,
And then Tyson was popping in and out just really quickly with the effects person.
yeah, if it weren't for the lack of like actually seeing her get killed and like it could have used some like stabbing, like a little bit of gore, like this would be a really great kill scene. I really love the room full of the Ghostface costumes. Like that
Yeah.
would be fucking terrifying walking into that, like knowing that there's someone hunting you. Like I would have been fucking hitting those things. Like she's just hiding like within them. But I do like her death compared to most of the others in the movie and kind of like I won't say a high bar, but a high bar for this movie of like then where we go from here. So that's kind of a bummer, but I think Jenny McCarthy also like plays it really well. Like I love how she reads her lines when
Yeah.
she like what is her character's name is
Candy.
Candy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the way she answers the phone. Hello. This is Candy. Wait, wait, let me put some clothes on. I love it.
Right. And when she says to Roman, she's like, "Ugh, why do I have to start the scene in the fucking
Yeah, she's
shower?
like, why am I naked?
Right. And I don't know. Only to like just be a victim of what they were making fun of in that opening scene with Christine. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, this
And
movie.
she checks her. I love when she checks just her one tit in the mirror. She's like looking in the mirror and she just lifts one and is
Yeah.
just like, that's good. It's a
Yeah,
good
this one's
tit.
good. I'll check the other one. She
Later.
switch. I'll check the hour from now. Just kind of go back and forth. No need to check both at once. That's too
Yeah.
much. No, you're right. I love the room with all the ghost face costumes.
Hmm.
I love that she fights back with like the fake knives, the rubber
Yeah, and
knives.
it's like all wobbly.
Yeah, that I thought that was hilarious. Um, and yeah, I think really the only part they kind of was kind of unfortunate about it was the actual like death, was just very,
Hmm.
very tame. I feel like no matter where you get stabbed, everyone just has like blood coming out of their head. That the,
Yeah, there's just always blood like on their face. Yeah, and you're
yeah,
like, I don't give a shit about that.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and one thing I forgot totally, with that first scene when Gail shows up to the studio, um, wearing that she Gail has many iconic outfits, but I feel
Hmm.
like people don't give enough credit to her hot dog suit in, in this one. She looks
I
fucking
love being called
great
a
in this
hot dog
scene.
suit. That's on my list of reasons why I don't like this movie is that Gail has so many wardrobe changes,
Yeah,
but they are not consistent. Like that first outfit feels like some dumb bullshit that she would wear, but like it progressively gets less like Gail. Like at one point she's in like a ribbed tank top, and I'm like, I'm sorry, this is fucking Gail Weathers. Like she's not wearing a tank top and denim jacket around town. Like that's not
yeah.
happening. So yeah, I do love that yellow suit with that red top. Oh God. Such harsh colors on her too.
And somewhere around here, just because I just want to bring it up again to talk about just how much I hate it. Um, I think it's like pretty shortly after this, you have the Jay and Silent Bob cameo, with Jason Mewes and
Yes.
Kevin Smith.
And
Um,
yes.
which I get it, Dimension Films, they were making Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back around the same
Mm,
time, probably filming at that same, of course, filming at that same studio.
hmm.
Um, I just like I roll my eyes and just shrug every time.
Hmm. It just
I
feels like you're in a different movie. Like and like a parody movie, like in that moment. I do like that Gale just flips him off though.
Now, normally, I don't know. It would bother me that much that say like Dogma and Scream are in the same universe.
Mm,
Because I mean, if you're going to see Jay and Silent Bob being Jay and Silent Bob, you have to kind of, all right, I guess all of it,
yeah, could be.
right? All of it has to,
Yeah.
exist together, whatever. That's why I'm just like, ugh, I don't know. It just felt like such an unnecessary thing. And it's not even like, I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. Again, just unnecessary. People have made fun of it quite a lot. I don't need to add too
Yeah,
much to
it
that fire, but
they could just cut that right out of the movie and it would be fine.
everyone knows Cotton's dead. I did think there was some funny part with there was a funny part with Neil when he's talking with Sydney and Sydney knows that Cotton's dead and Neil's like, Cotton had a lot of enemies,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Wouldn't it be funny if it was just Neil that killed him?
yeah,
Just tack it on to the Ghostface murders.
yeah. I was like, I'm sure nobody nobody is shedding less of a tear than Neil Prescott over Cotton being fucking murdered, being just like,
Yeah.
yeah, well,
Fuck him.
fuck him. That's why I'm feeling like, hey, Neil Price, you got a little smile when you were in
Yeah,
that
he's
situation.
like, I just turned on the TV, sees Nancy O'Dell, and is like, oh shit. Cheers to that.
Because remember, not only did Cotton have an affair with Neil's wife, but now Cotton has sex games based on the trauma of his daughter. So,
Which Neil wouldn't know.
right, but if he found that out, I think it would be,
It'd be fuel to the
it
fire
would
for
be
sure.
fuel to the fire, right?
Yeah.
Also, with Sarah's death, again, she has a phone that works. Again, we're
Yeah.
not we're not calling 911. We're not calling, a studio security or whatever. Or I think she's trying to, but I don't know if this
Hasn't she
still
tried?
I think so. But she's going through that phone tree to which I don't know if this works everywhere, but it does work. And then I think it still works in some places. But if you just here's a pro tip. If you're on a phone tree and you can't connect with anybody, try just mashing zero as
I'm
many
sorry,
times.
what is a phone tree? What are you talking about?
Oh, like a phone tree, if you're just like dial one for this, dial two for that, and then you dial two for whatever, and then it'll give you
That's called a
another.
phone tree? I've never
Yeah.
heard that terminology before.
Yeah, because you take your little phone message and you like a little seed and you put it in the ground and it gives you what branches off into a bunch of other things. Yeah, it's a phone tree, I think.
Okay.
You can run out of the
Okay.
research team.
But
But
yeah, you definitely just always press zero. I know that. I
yeah,
know
it just
that
gets
part. I'm gonna ask other people if they've ever heard that before. I don't know where the fuck you got that from.
I'm pretty sure it's called a phone tree. So, everybody's pretty on edge finding out that now not only is Cotton Weary dead, who
Hmm.
was supposed to have a cameo or had filmed a cameo for Stab 3,
Yeah,
but
he
now
was on that
Sarah
big poster.
Sarah Darling being dead, now you get this, other wrinkle to the plot in that
Oh.
the killer is allegedly killing people based on the order that they die in Stab 3. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
issue also is that there are three different scripts,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know which one the killer is working off of.
Very, very meta.
Either, or if it's a combination of different scripts.
Mm-hmm.
And then even then, the only time this is like brought up is when you learn that the next person that, or allegedly the next person that would die would be either Gail or Jennifer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that does not end up being the case. So we'd never know which script he's working off of, nor do I
Mm-hmm.
know who the next person. I wouldn't even know if Roman was even committing to any of that because they never really talk about it ever again after that.
No. Yeah, it feels very much Scream 2 with the first name plot drop that we had.
Yeah, and they just yeah, just like you said, they just drop it immediately. And I mean, or it becomes like random, just oh my God, that whole thing with Tom dying is so fucking dumb with the fax machine.
Oh, we'll get to the fax machine. We
We
will get
will.
to the fact. We're gonna have to explain what a fax machine even is. Also there's that extra element of the photos of Maureen Prescott being left behind, which we totally left out.
Again, also very dumb and only happens for like
The first like two kills? Three?
for the first two kills, technically after the fourth or fifth kill, and then I think that's it. And then maybe like a few others. So he's like
Okay. So
also
it's
randomly leaving these
inconsistent.
photos. It's super inconsistent. And then it goes into this whole thing about this backstory with Maureen Prescott. And as Randy says in his video later on, that, it's if you have things from the past that are coming back, that's what separates it from another run-of-the-mill sequel, right? But a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you also have the woman that plays Maureen Prescott actually like in a scene, like normally
Yeah,
she is
yeah.
just in photos, right? Like
Yeah.
from Scream 1 and then a little bit in Scream 2. I think she shows up maybe, but she's like actually like acting a little bit, in this one.
Yeah.
Whereas like, more of like in her ghost weird form.
Mm-hmm.
This these movies, this one in particular though, why? I don't know. It's like why do they hate Maureen so much? Like they are so awful to her,
They
and
really are.
there's so much victim blaming in this movie and victim shaming, and it like I don't know, like this movie I think was thinking that it was like smart and making this, also kind of just statement about
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
and the abuse, and then of course, being produced by the Weinsteins, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised they let that happen because like this Milton
I
character
mean,
is
like
very
if you,
clearly,
yeah, but like if you were like, hey, like we shouldn't put this in here because then people are gonna think we do that, then they'd be like, then everyone would be like, well, why are you worried about that? Like you can't
yeah,
really, at that point, they probably knew like their hands were kind of tied and they could just, they're just like, okay, sure, you do what you need to do. Yeah, poor Maureen. Like, I just can't get past whether or not her presence as a ghost is a dream or a hallucination or what it is. Gives you the impression that Sydney is not like a reliable source, that she's like, you know, just imagining things are happening. So like, they give you the impression that it's a dream, but then, later on it feels like a full-on hallucination. And then you find out that it's some fucking movie magic. I don't even know. Like, I just don't know.
it's so weird because it's like, I think, yeah, they're like dreams and hallucinations, but then like somehow like Roman also has the ability to clone Maureen's voice.
Yeah. How the fuck? How the actual fuck? From the movie she was in, maybe?
Yeah, like maybe,
She was
but
in
but
a
then I
bunch
was like,
of B horror movies.
I guess so. But I'm like, how many was she actually even in?
I mean, I think they listed at least two.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Um, another character who I think is a highlight of this movie that I did not mention yet,
Mm.
is Stephen Stone, played by my boy Patrick Warburton.
Mm-hmm. I
Him,
agree.
as much as I love Parker Posey paired with
Steven Stone. Stupid names.
Stephen Stone. Oh, Jesus, I know. Um, yeah, I really love everything with him and Parker Posey.
Yes, absolutely. Her just like jumping into his arms.
Yeah, I know. Dude, Parker Posey. I know we haven't brought her up yet exactly because she wasn't there with the main, the main
She's
staff cast,
heavy like
but
in the second act for sure.
yeah. And um fuck. Industry legend Parker Posey.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Industry legend Parker Posey. She's not only just amazing in this movie, but she's amazing in everything. I think she's so fucking funny. Just her presence in a movie like makes me smile. She got
Yeah, me too.
that Tony Todd effect.
Yeah, I like that. I like the Tony Todd effect. Just bringing smiles wherever you go. Just
Bringing
smiles full of
smiles.
bees. Yeah. Um, so he is. So he's great. He's pretty fun because he's just doing his Patrick Warburton situation. I like it. I like that he keeps calling him Dewdrop.
I love that he calls him Dewdrop too. Yeah.
Even his dying breath, Dewdrop. like like maybe there's some
Yeah.
unrequited
He's
love
committed.
there. Maybe I don't know.
It's
Um,
like a love hate relationship, you know? They both cared about Jennifer's safety.
once you saw that there was a named security guard that was like in like multiple scenes, it's like, oh, he's definitely gonna die.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely
Hundred
dead.
percent.
Yeah, because
And
no detectives die in this one. So
yeah, even when Patrick Dempsey is like, well, one thing I know is one cop usually doesn't make it out, or blah blah blah
yeah,
blah
yeah.
blah. And I'm like, I'd be like, dude, don't say that. I don't want to be your fucking partner on this. Like, why would you say
Yeah.
shit, cryptic shit like that?
Well, like
Um,
Wallace is out of here.
yeah. So yeah, I do like the back and forth between Steve Stone and Dewdrop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just again, just anytime David Arquette like just gets kind of like flustered with a long sentence or like is faced with a situation where he has to come up with a comeback and he just
Mm-hmm.
like can't do it.
Just
It's
can't. Yeah.
it's
But he
it's
wants
always
to. So he always says something. Like he won't just leave it.
no, I mean, I think I don't know if maybe they just wanted us to be okay with Steven's death because geez, the last thing he says before he gets fucking stabbed the fuck up by Ghostface.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
dude, when he's like fucking, being an asshole to Dewey on the phone, being like, "Oh, I'm just rooting around in Dewey's cabin for one, or
Yeah.
Dewey's
Get out
trailer
of
for one,"
there. Yeah.
and
Breaking and
saying
entering.
and saying to him, "Oh, just looking around, make sure there's no ghost faces will pop up and kill you like your sister or something like that."
Yeah.
And I was like,
The audacity. Thank goodness Dewey didn't hear that. And it was just Ghostface on the other line.
"Yeah, no harm, no foul." Then he's dead, so it worked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you don't have a picture of Maureen left with Stephen Stone.
Mm-mm.
Nor do you have it with our next death, which is Tom Prinz, who plays Dewey. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this one's probably the worst.
It's just so unusual. The use of the fax machine, like I don't know if they thought like, oh, you know what we haven't done before? Used a fucking fax machine. And like, weren't fax machines kind of on their way out at that point? Am I wrong in
Yeah.
thinking that? Like, because email was like, once email came into the fold, like, fuck a fax machine. You don't need a fax machine.
Fax machines have unfortunately overstayed their welcome quite a bit. And there are
Yeah.
some, I feel like it was, I don't know, certain stuff where like I just remember like whether it's like something with the IRS or something with like, having to
Lots of
submit some
scams.
document for something. I don't know. It would always be like it would like require me to like either like send in like mail or fax something. And I'm like, why are you still only like, I don't know. Like why
Why are
am
you
I
only
still,
accepting documents this way?
which I'm also like, where's Roman like sending these faxes from?
Yeah.
Does he
Yeah.
is like where is the next closest fax machine for him to be sending those faxes from?
I
Are
mean, I
they, and
would
they have to
think
be
if the
close enough to the
stud
house?
I would think like at the studio, like if people are still actively using fax machines to the point where they have them in their homes, there would probably be fax machines all over the studio lot, right?
But he's there as Ghostface, like waiting for them at the bottom of that hill.
You're fucking right. Damn. Could you? No, I'm not gonna ask that question.
Okay.
Because I was realizing like cell phone technology was not that great. I was like, ooh, or could you text a fax? And then I was like, no, that doesn't even make sense. Also, it would take so long to text because we were still in the smash the button 3 times to get to the letter possibly that you needed.
While I appreciate a non-stabbing death in Scream, because that I get it. There's a lot of just stabbing, right?
Yeah, I
It's
appreciate
his,
the
it's his
house
main
blowing
main
up.
form. But
Hmm.
I'm like, of course, for all of that to work, yeah, just I mean, good on him, because especially for being a singular ghost face.
Oh,
Like
there's no fucking way. There's absolutely no fucking way that he would be able to pull that off by himself. previous Ghostface killers have needed a pair in order to make a telephone call and hide in a closet. So you're telling me, yeah, this imaginary fucking magical fax machine that he has outside of this house while he's like scaling the perimeter, watching what they're doing something to the gas line. And do, does science allow a house to blow up that way with just like just enough gas to make it blow up that way, but not enough that anyone would smell it? Have you ever accidentally left the gas on in your kitchen?
Yeah, and you can smell
You
it.
can smell it and it would not blow up your home. So to that extent, I mean, maybe you get a little fireball action. I don't know, but that just seems wild to me. That's such a big problem with this movie that there's not another killer. Like even if he would have been like, "Oh, I killed my partner who was the other killer," and you just never find out who it was, just say you have a partner. This movie was clearly written with two killers in mind. Like you couldn't pull that shit off by yourself.
Right. I think it was supposed to be Angelina, right? And I think
Hmm.
they may have even filmed that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be curious if they did.
Yeah.
Um,
I watched some alternate there's an alternate ending on the Blu-ray, and the ending, it was basically the same. So I didn't know what
oh,
was changed
interesting.
there. Yeah,
I've only watched the alternate opening where Christine is dead.
when he gets there.
Hmm.
And also Roman had to count on someone using a lighter to read this page
Yeah.
because apparently it's so goddamn dark in this house.
And no one would have a flashlight.
Yeah. So I don't know. So dumb. They roll down like the explosion throws everybody over the thing. They're all rolling down. You do find Ghostface once they get to the bottom because he's trying to attack Gale. Dewey shoots him, but then Dewey, of course, just shooting that handgun was too much for him because that makes him fall down even more. Dewey is very
Such a goof.
useless in this movie compared
Yeah.
to, I mean, he always is kind of useless in the movies.
He
When it
does
like
get Roman's kill.
the head, Dewey, the
Yeah.
fucking head.
He's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. So at this point is, I think, finally when we, after these kills, we're back at the police station, and then we do finally get Sydney um
Yes, but you
arriving.
skipped one of my favorite parts,
Which part's that?
which is when Gail hits Jennifer
Mm,
and she falls to the ground and says, "My lawyer liked that."
yeah, she's
I fucking love that so much. It never gets old. I could watch it 1,000 times.
I love it. Um
Had to
and
had to backtrack.
and Gail got to know what it felt like to punch Gail Weathers,
Yeah.
you
Oh my God.
know?
Yeah.
So she's probably like, dang, I get
It
it. It
does
did
feel
feel
good.
good. Yeah. Again, you've got, Detective Kincaid, who is,
The worst.
very just the worst, and just,
Ugh.
demanding like, this is about Sydney. You need to bring me to Sydney. And I'm like,
Mhm.
first of all, Dewey must be the only person who knows where she is. Dewey
Oh,
and
he
Neil
definitely knows
Prescott.
where she is. Yeah.
The police like can't find that out
No.
somehow,
Yeah,
like some other way.
that seems
Like,
so far-fetched.
so gosh, so we've got Sydney coming back. And then we cut back and she's like, okay, well, I want to, take me to the studio. I want to see
Mhm.
where, she's seen these pictures of her mom and, allegedly. And not the thing that I didn't like about this movie was that Sydney isn't involved at all with the Maureen mystery.
Yeah, no.
Fucking Parker Posey has way more knowledge of Rena Reynolds and Maureen Prescott and her
Yeah.
backstory than Sydney, I mean, ever really. Well, I mean, I guess kind of learns about in exposition with Roman,
Yeah,
at
but
the end there.
still,
But
like, it's as an audience, we have all the like between the lines and blanks to fill in. But for Sydney, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, had I not been through that whole mystery solving situation with Jennifer and Gail, like, I feel like Sydney needed way more information. And she did not have that. But one thing I do like is that she's wearing Derek's letters.
Yeah, that's cute.
Him too. I thought that was a cute little nod back to him because he seemed like he was a good boyfriend.
And also, if we, like I said, we kind of learned about cavaliering. Like, you don't give that shit back. Like, once you have it, you've got those
And those are
letters.
hers. Yeah,
Those are her letters.
she's like, sorry, Derek's mom, I'm keeping this shit.
Yeah.
He gave them to
um,
me.
yeah. She wants to go back to the studio, so they do. And they are intercepted by someone who I think is also a cute addition to this movie is Heather Matarazzo,
Mm,
who I've always enjoyed. She's always like a side player in like bit parts and like
yeah,
a lot of like high school comedies at the time. She's been
yeah.
in some other horror too. Brutal Death and Hostel too.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
she's in that one, and she's playing Randy's sister, which then is kind of the I don't know. Well, no, the worst cameo, of course, is going to be Jay and Silent Bob. But how do you feel about Randy coming back in video form in this whole scene?
Well, geez, I feel like I know how you feel about it. With that intro.
It's mixed.
I feel like they had to find a way to get Randy in there, and I think they still put this shit in the trailer. Like they had to have Jamie Kennedy in that trailer. They were like, how are we going to sell this movie without Randy in the trailer? Um, so I like Randy's little cameo. I think it's a fun concept that he would take a video. Like it seems very on brand for him that he would take a video of like, just in case I don't make it through this, let me give them some guidance. And it also incorporates, the rules again, which these rules, again, you called this out a couple times that Randy's rules actually don't always apply to the movie. Like
Hmm.
it's like one out of the three. But I like his little cameo, and I like the way he like talks about losing his virginity, and like the back and forth between him and Dewey, even though it's like a recording. Like I love all of that. I think it's very silly, very just just fun. It feels like a nice like little nod to fans who were fucking pissed that Randy died in the second one.
Yeah, I know there was maybe some original conversations about Randy possibly surviving Scream 2 like Dewey
Oof,
did, but
no,
they
they
would be
didn't need that.
like, yeah, I think that would be terrible. I don't want any of that. I do like how he's like, for some of you, I'll be seeing you real soon.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
dark.
that's
Yeah.
cold, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, and turns
I
out,
love it.
actually, yeah, and it turns out actually worked out pretty well. Just nobody in that room died.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
would say some dark shit like that too, though, if I left a recording for people and then died after, like I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna fucking freak you out. Yeah, like
yeah,
that's if I can't haunt you as an actual ghost, like I'll leave something behind for you, to just creep you out. Like what fun. Now I'm
I
thinking, I'm
don't.
like, damn, should I record something? Something cryptic?
The last rule is right over your shoulder right now behind you. Just kidding. All right, I'm dead. I'll see you later.
JK. Yeah. So his rules,
Oh, you should have.
what?
Why did he? Why did he not have a prank show called JK with JK, starring Jamie Kennedy?
Wow.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I guess he could have. That wouldn't be too far. What was the one he actually had called?
The Jamie Kennedy experiment.
Yeah, okay. Well, your name is better, actually. I like it.
Yeah, thank
it.
you.
It's dumb, but I'd go for it. Um, okay, so the rules this time around
Mhm.
are one, you've got a killer who's superhuman, which what the fuck, Randy? Like, that was a dumb rule. Not true and not a fan of that.
Mhm.
Rule number two, anyone including the main character can die. So everybody's on the chopping block this time around. And then number three, the past will come back to bite you in the ass, which I think is the one rule that does apply in this film.
But he says like, any sins will come back to haunt you. And I'm like, is any of this like Sydney's sins? Like, why?
No, anyone sins, apparently. Like anybody.
I guess.
That's what it seems like. You
Like
know,
Billy and
Milton
Stu's,
and
I guess.
friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their sins too.
This is probably my favorite, maybe next 20 minutes of the movie is when you have Sydney who separates off to go
Hmm.
and she has a conversation with Angelina who is you
Super
know
creepy and guilty.
and would have made sense if she was Ghostface.
Yeah, yeah. She could have been your obvious one
Yeah,
because
absolutely. And
everything
then
about her screams killer.
yeah, her walking through. I liked her walking through the Woodsboro set. I did think that was
I
pretty
thought that
good.
was really fun. Yeah.
Um the I don't know about the Creed poster. I did forget the Creed song that's like was like with this movie that was playing at the beginning of in
Oh,
Cotton's room too. Oh Jesus.
yeah.
But we're and
Yeah.
again, just like Scream 3, we're having this weird
I knew you would know what band that
reevaluation.
was.
Yeah, we're having this weird reevaluation of Creed. And I'm like, why? Let's stop it.
No,
Don't need
no,
it.
we don't need to reevaluate that.
But gosh, yeah, the Creed poster in her bedroom is pretty good. And then you also have Gail Weathers, who's like, hey, y'all, I'll be back. I've got an idea and I'm gonna go follow a lead that I think I got.
Hmm.
And Parker Posey's like, no, you fucking don't. You need me. I'm coming with you. And her explanation, like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I think it kind of
It's
makes
not
sense.
bad. Yeah, I followed her when she was like, I'm gonna stick by you because you're the actual target and I'm just a message. But if I'm with the actual target, wouldn't you rather kill Gale Weathers than pretend Gale Weathers? Like that's sound logic, I think.
I like all of this. They
I
go
love
and
them
talk,
snooping around.
love it. And
The
then
music is
finding,
really good too when they're snooping around as well.
I
It's
agree.
very like silly Scooby-Doo feeling.
Yeah, this movie does have pretty hard Scooby-Doo vibes, which,
Yeah.
I think I can appreciate.
Yeah.
And then you have another cameo, well, of course, industry legend Carrie Fisher,
Hmm.
even though, I
So
mean,
good.
I don't know how much horror she's been in outside of this. I might sound really dumb if I find out there was something else that was like,
I can't think of anything.
yeah. And then again, kind of like this, again, this weird kind of exchange, where it's like, she's like, no, I'm not that woman, nor am I not. I think she was also alluding to the fact that like that Carrie Fisher also exists in this universe, but it's not her.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
makes that aside that like, oh, I wasn't the one that fucked George Lucas, so I didn't
Yeah,
get the
yeah, yeah.
part and this and this and this.
Yeah. I get that.
Um, which, by the way, again, this movie, literally every single actress in this movie admits to having sex with someone to get what they need. Like literally, I
Yeah.
think all of them,
Yeah. Hmm.
Angelina and Jennifer and Sarah
Hmm.
and what's her name? Like Bianca Burnett or whoever Carrie Fisher plays.
Hmm.
Um, and then of course, Rena Reynolds, well,
Hmm.
aka Maureen Prescott. Um, so loved all of this. I just like, but again, it just feels weird that like Sydney's like not involved with any of like this kind of mystery gathering stuff. And I'm like, why would y'all split up anyway? That's generally not a good idea. Even when they're back at the house at the end, they all split up.
And that's one of the frustrating things is that none of the splitting up seems logical. Like it's clearly because of like filming conflicts. So that makes it hard too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it bothers me a lot. Like every time I watch this movie, that bothers me just a little bit more that they're separate so much.
So you swing back over to Sid, and you got the Ghostface chase in the Woodsboro set.
Hmm.
Um,
What do you think about her hallucinating while she's awake? Is that a hallucination? Is that Roman fucking with her? Like what is that that's happening? Because I like everything that happens in the house, but that piece always confuses me.
I think it's a hallucination. I think she's feeling it. I mean, like you can tell that kind of just being back there is like having a lot of, she's carrying a lot of
A lot of
weight.
trauma, a lot of PTSD.
Um, when she's in the bathroom, you remember she like raises her hand and her hand is shaking,
Hmm.
and you can tell she's just very, just off balance being here. So now
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, is that Roman using like the voice changer to make it sound like Maureen coming from the other room?
Yeah, that's what
But
I
I
thought.
don't but I don't think it is. I think it's Sydney just hallucinating and getting all kind of fucked up, which I appreciate. I mean, I appreciate that it's like not like, that she isn't able to just, you know, I don't know, separate all that out and be like, all right, now I'm on a new Ghostface fight, whatever, whatever. I think the movie doesn't do it well, but I think at least like takes a step to show that like this is not like a strong, confident Sydney here. This is a
Hmm.
Sydney that's like been pushed to the fucking brink and is like really now feeling the effects of these multiple traumatic things over the last couple of
Hmm.
years, right?
Well,
Um,
what I like about that too, and this could just be I don't know, a sign of my personality, but I like that when Sydney has those moments, she is alone when she is like really like when she cries, when she, is experiencing like any like trauma that she's like really like the handshaking. As soon as like danger enters the equation, like for herself or for her friends, or Ghostface, like, just fucking appears out of nowhere, she's on. Like she's ready to fight usually. Like she reacts pretty well to everything that's thrown at her. So I like that her ability to like switch into survival mode and just like general badassery when she needs to.
I think the next scene is now confronting Milton because
Mm-hmm.
so Jennifer and Gail go to Dewey and they're like, hey, we got this. We think we broke this thing wide the fuck open. Let's go to
Yeah.
Milton's place. We're getting to Milton's office. Roman's already there. And Roman's like,
Hmm.
fuck, dude. Like my cast is dead. The movie's on fucking hold, blah, 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 blah. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, I'm a pariah. I don't even know what a pariah is. And one thing I was curious about, if Roman Bridger is maybe like a fake identity, or like, I don't know, is it? Or is his birth name Roman Bridger?
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I would think so. I mean, and if it wasn't, his cover for changing his name is like, well, I'm a director in Hollywood. Like I wanted to choose my name. Um,
That's fair.
I I would assume it is like presumably he was adopted or just went through, foster care for however long and then went on his merry way.
The reason I'm asking is because I wonder, do you think it was actually his birthday?
Yeah, I think it would be. Absolutely.
How fun is that? He's like thinking like, okay, here's where I'm going to kill him, this and this and this, and I wonder if he was like intentional, like, oh yeah, the third act, oh yeah,
Hmm.
we're gonna do it on my birthday. It's gonna be
I
really
love
fun.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't
way to
even think about
celebrate
that.
yourself.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Absolutely. I would do the same fucked up shit. I'd be like, yeah, on my birthday.
So they're planning on having a birthday party for Roman with whoever's left alive
Yeah.
at at Milton's
There's
place.
like five people.
Yeah, and like I don't know. So so there's like, hey, go cut the cake. And I do appreciate how, yeah, then Jennifer's just like, oh, happy birthday, Roman.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it's your birthday.
It's so good. But they confront Milton, that's why I love the you're obsessed with her and you're obsessed with her daughter. And fucking
So
Gail.
good.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like easy,
Ser-
Geraldo.
Yeah.
I love
Now
that.
I'm like, do people even get that reference now when if they watch this movie for the first time?
So they confront Milton being like, you knew who the fuck Rena Reynolds was, and he's like,
Hmm.
yeah, okay. So I didn't know originally, but yes, in the first Stab movie, yeah, maybe I found out and I didn't want to say anything afterwards. And he goes on this just awful fucking dipshit fucking thing on just like, well, she knew what she was getting herself into.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
maybe this town just isn't for the innocent and all this like dumb
yeah.
kind of
I'm sorry, no
fucking,
matter what the situation is, like if you go, even if you're a person who goes into a situation and you're like, okay, I might need to fuck my way to the top, you don't actually know what that means or what the consequences of that might be. So, like,
yeah.
no, she didn't know what she was getting into. Milton's whole speech feels very real to me in that way, like how shitty he is and how he talks about
Mhm.
her and like presumably any other, actress that came through there. And obviously, like his place is a fucking weird ass fuck pad. Like he has that room with the double-sided glass that's like
Yeah.
soundproof. So like people could just stand there and like watch. So it's like, did she know? Did she know that people were watching through the glass? Probably not. Did she agree to
Yeah.
that? No, probably not. Like, so his whole speech feels very real to me, which is why like I like that part because his character feels like an actual fucking asshole man in Hollywood that would be like, no, like they're, women come to these parties and they know what it means and they don't know what it means. And even if you actually did know exactly what was going to happen to you, you would have no idea how that would feel or what emotional or physical trauma that you might undertake from that experience. So I think he's hilarious in making such a fucking outrageous statement. But it feels real. So I appreciate that. Like if he was like really sympathetic and like, oh, I'm so sorry, like you'd be like, this isn't a real man. Like he
Yeah.
feels more real.
So, and he ends up getting his fucking throat slit, so fuck him. So
Yeah.
that's all,
Yeah.
I was loving shitty people die.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's great.
yeah. So we have a couple of things that'll happen, or at least one thing, like one scene before we move off to this birthday party at the end. You go back to the police station with Mark and Sydney.
Hmm.
And again, just fucking Patrick Dempsey just
This is his worst acting, honestly. Like I've seen him in a few things and I think his acting's really bad in this movie.
I think so too. And he is like a fucking creep in this
He's
movie and is
such a
like
creep.
macking on, kind of half like macking on Sydney. You know what it reminds me of
But
is
not
the
blatantly enough. Like I'd be like, are are you like trying to like no, if I ask you a question and you just show up like 6 inches from my face, I'd be like, oh, that's not the way to do it. We
yeah.
don't know each other that well.
Like, is he really that any better than the fucking detective from Valentine? Like, at least he's just like, hey, I'm gonna I'm
Yeah,
I'm gonna I'm gonna shoot my shot and say something uncomfortable and
that's
awful to you,
true.
Denise Richards. But
Respect to that. But yeah, when she says, what's your favorite scary movie? And he gives that fucking dumb fucking answer, my life. He goes so close to her face, and I would have been like, bro, what the fuck? Like, get out of my personal space. What are you doing? Fucking weirdo.
you need to get the fuck back. And
Yeah, back up a couple paces. Sidney Prescott's got a gun, always.
I like how he also had a spare gun, just like how I leave, like, I don't know, like a snack I forgot I had, an old like
Some
granola bar wrapped on
Starbursts.
the, yeah, oh, I love Starburst. Um the yellow ones in particular. I'm insane,
Yes.
everybody. I'm
Yes. No,
unhinged.
the yellow ones are the best ones.
Okay, thank you. I feel like
We
that's a
we agree we agree on that one thing.
okay. Yeah, we've got that.
Yeah.
It is the best one. It goes yellow. I'm not gonna, never mind. I'll save that for later.
It's yellow, orange, red, pink.
100%. I may have
I
said
agree.
this during the Halloween episode or the trick or treat episode. I might have talked about my
Maybe.
candy preferences.
Maybe.
So
I
I'm
agree.
sorry,
I
y'all.
agree with that lineup. Yeah. Well, in case you didn't hear it, go listen to that. But also, those are the facts, everybody. Those are the facts on Starburst.
So Dewey and Gail and Jennifer are headed off to the police station to go see Sydney. But then they get a call from Sydney instead saying, actually, Milton wants me to head over to his place at Roman's party. So I'm going to head over there. And again, we
Hmm.
know this is Roman calling using
Yeah.
Sydney's voice, right? And so that brings everybody over to the house, except for Sydney, just yet,
Hmm.
you know. Um,
Because that was
where
not her on the other line.
that was, yes, right, because that was not her on the other line. So, um, why is this party even happening? One. Two,
Yeah.
I mean, even Tyson says, who finally Tyson shows up again. Um,
He's
he's
back in
back.
the movie.
He's back just to say, have you never seen a stab movie? This is a prime place for a fucking your third act
Yet
murder
he's
situation.
there.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are you fucking here? Why'd
Yeah, go home.
you were
Watch
doing such a
TV.
yeah, you were doing such a good job being gone for this whole movie and
Yeah, he would have
avoiding.
been safe. Safe as a house.
Yeah, you walked right back into it. So it's kind of on you, man.
Yeah.
And so they go and they split up. Dewey and Gale are still waiting for Sid. Um, Now, this is when you get like well, you'd call it like a third act bloodbath, but very little blood in any of this.
There's no bathing to be had here. Like you don't have enough blood to do anything with. Like
Yeah.
there's not enough blood in this movie. It's a huge problem.
How do you feel about Roman's fake death?
I don't remember what episode we've talked about this before of like fake
Fake out
out
deaths?
deaths.
Yeah.
I'm never a fan of a fake out death unless other people are in on it in like a, I don't know, like you know how they do dumb pranks and shit in horror movies that no one ever does in real life, like
Mhm.
something like that, not where it's actually like to throw you off of who the killer is. And the reason why I especially hate this one is that Gail discovers him and checks his pulse and it presumes that he's dead. I just don't like that Gail would be wrong in this situation. She's been through two fucking like serial killer events. She's checked some pulses before. Like, this isn't her first rodeo. So that really bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also especially because there's only one killer and he's that killer. So it's not like you have a second one running around and it's one of them in the house. Like it just is, it's honestly complete fucking bullshit. That's how I feel about that. How do you feel about it?
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth.
There you go.
Ditto. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Shitty.
because I just don't understand. And again, I don't know the layout of this house very well. Because it's a new set that they introduce right at the end. Like, I get why he would fake his death so no one would keep checking down to find out he's not in that coffin anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm like, he must know this house really well because how are you? I just was so confused, like how he was getting from one place to another, especially when you go from like Angelina's death to Tyson's death to
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer's death, which are all like in pretty quick succession. Um, like how you um, again, I don't know. I was just
I
very
think I might
confused by that.
actually have a little bit of a logical answer for that because I thought about
Sure.
that too. Because Milton is never present at the party. He has him tied up. So he could have had him tied up before anybody arrived and done a
Right.
nice little run around of this house. Like, where do these secret tunnels go? Like, what's what? Like, I think he could have done a really thorough mapping out of like how he would get from one room to another quickly. So that could be that part. Like that's the only thing that seems like logical as to how he could have bounced around so fast, but still, like definitely two killers. It's just unreal that it would be one person.
So Gail and Jennifer find Roman allegedly dead. Go back
Mm-hmm.
upstairs, run to Angelina. I love this.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And then again, you find out that she slept with Milton,
Mm-hmm.
to get the
To win that
part,
contest. Yeah.
and which I'm just like, I just really feel bad for everybody because I just again, I don't feel like the movie like provides any answers or says anything that deep about it. You know what I mean? Because then everyone just goes off and
No.
dies anyway. And
Yeah, you wouldn't
but I
expect that out of this movie.
but I love how she was like, "Fuck y'all, I'm getting out of here." And do you just notice the like in the way she runs off, just flapping her arms as she
Yeah,
runs
yeah.
away. I'm trying to
It's
do it. It's
very
really
over the
fun.
top.
Only to immediately get killed by
Yeah.
Ghostface.
Kyle's
Um,
impression was not very good,
it
just
never they
for the
never are.
record. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, then you just have Ghostface just like he's just not even hiding anymore. He's just running around, just fucking just
Yeah.
chasing after people, fighting people. Tyson puts up a pretty good spot, trying to help them out, like
No, I
rushes
would cut
them.
him the fuck out of there. Like, I appreciate him trying to defend like everybody, but I feel like I have nothing to do with this. Like, I don't even play a real character. that existed in Woodsboro. Like he's
Yeah.
like an inspired by Randy character, I guess. Again, I'm surprised that Tyson lasted so long. And even like, okay, going back to Angelina, the way that she dies, it also feels like she still could have been alive and been the killer, and that could have been like another death fake out because,
Hmm.
she's dragged, her eyes are wide open. It looks like she was only stabbed once, which like to which Dewey would like scoff at, like, surviving two of these like crazy attacks, I think getting stabbed in really like critical spots. So,
Yeah.
it looked like she was like stabbed like right in her like below her collarbone. And I'm like, you could survive that. Absolutely.
And then you have Tyson's death, he does get to a point where he's like, all right, fuck this. I'm getting out of here. He starts running. And
Yeah.
I know the dumb thing with like just pulling the rug out from underneath him, which causes him to like literally like do like a full fucking flip through the air,
Mm-hmm.
very cartoonishly.
Very, yeah, very
Um,
cartoonish, very Scooby-Doo again. And this
yeah,
house is very Scooby-Doo.
yeah. And then getting thrown out the window by
Mm-hmm.
Tyson. We hardly knew you.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do?
Poor Tyson.
And then you very quickly go back to Jennifer, who's
Mm.
made her way through one of these secret
Yeah, she hit the
passages.
wall and like flipped through.
Right. Even her, especially, I'm like, because again, there's like hardly like any blood. I feel like she very well could have survived that. And I
She could
really
have,
wish she
she
did.
could have and should have survived. I like, where was her Dewey moment at the end where she's like on the stretcher, like I think that would have been really fun to see that she survived, especially, yeah, like you said, like you don't see dead eyes from her. Like she's like tumbled over almost. So she could definitely still be alive, like hopefully somebody realizes that the people want Parker Posey. Yeah, I was really disappointed. She should not have died. For all the like there's so many like filler characters to be killed. We didn't need Jennifer Jolie to die.
At some point, recently, last couple of years, they had, I guess, in an interview with Parker Posey, they were like, I remember she had said, like, oh, yeah, I'd love to fucking come back for Scream. Come on, we can make it work. I didn't really die.
Yeah,
Oh,
they could totally find a way. Absolutely.
100%. So that is, well, okay. So outside of Milton Roman, who I'll call Milton like a tier B kind of half pseudo villain, even though he's not Ghostface,
He
just because he's an
honestly gets the
asshole.
most on-screen kill because you get to see his throat being slit.
Yeah.
I don't think
But
anybody else you see like knives going through them like that.
Galen Dewey being well, without knowing about Milton being the last ones left alive in this house, I thought that whole kind of fucking scene was dumb of like the throwing the knife up the stairs at Dewey and the
And the
butt of the
back
knife hitting
hits
him.
him. I remember that being heavy in every single fucking trailer.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. That's really dumb. But
Yeah, it is. It's pretty
again,
silly.
Dewey being pretty useless. So like they get tied up and stuff. I don't know why Ghostface cares so much about like not
Just not
just
killing them.
killing. Yeah.
You
But
could use the
again,
voice changer to pretend you kept them alive.
yeah.
Like they're supposed to be
So
bait, but you could just bait her with your fucking magical voice changer.
why do both of them need to be bait? And then
Yeah,
also,
exactly. Like, hey, I killed one. You better get here fast if you don't want me to kill the other.
yeah. And then Sydney be like, well, which one? It
Yeah, it
matters.
better be Dewey, like that's left. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely he would have to kill Gale first and be like, Gale's dead, so that ship has sailed, but you can still save Dewey, and her ass would be over there fast.
When Sydney first meets with them at the police station, they're all saying their hellos, and her and Gail like, give each other a big hug and all of this. And I'm like, do
Oh,
you?
it's like the most awkward hug though. Like they like kind of they do like the shouldn't we hug like shuffle, you know?
I like that because I'm
I
like,
like it too.
does Sydney actually like Gail after Scream 2?
No,
No.
absolutely not. Sydney is a saint and puts up with Gale. Like she does not like Gale. No way. As a petty grudge holding bitch, I can tell you Sydney does not like Gale.
Nor should she.
No.
Um, so Sydney gets a call now from Ghostface,
Hmm.
Well, first it's like using, trying to make it pretend there's like an echo, using like Sydney's voice to call Sydney,
I hate that. I think it's so
S-
fucking dumb.
yeah, so dumb. Like, dude, fucking
Just be Ghostface. Like we're at the climax of the movie. Let's just fucking do what we need to do.
she goes to the house. She's smart. She's packing a few different guns and weapons and shit. So
Love the
to
double gun in the same boot trick though. That's smart as
yes,
fuck.
it's super
Smart as
smart.
fuck. Yeah, go Sydney.
I love her. I know. My favorite final girl, right?
Yeah, she's the best.
Um, and Sydney does a little bit of a chase situation. Mark Kincaid, of course, comes back and is just acting like a fucking creep. Like,
Yeah.
why are you acting like a fucking creep right now? Can you just,
Yeah. They were literally like, Patrick, what we need you to do is just sound as suspicious as possible with every fucking thing you say. And then when he like was like sounding kind of suspicious, they were like, no, no, no. Keep ramp it up. Keep it going. Like we need people to
yeah,
just think that you're like no one thought he was the killer. Come on.
yeah,
No one
it all,
thought. Mm-mm.
it all would have been super dumb. So,
Yeah, it's fucking
um,
dumb.
Mark gets stabbed by Ghostface, chases Sydney around. She's like, hey, if you want me, come and fucking get me, motherfucker.
I
Let's do
love
this.
that. Oh, I love it. She's so
Um,
confident.
I love it. And you get your, after this chase, you get your Ghostface reveal.
Mm.
She finds that secret room and sees, Maureen or footage of Maureen like on the screen. Um, fucking all the doors now get locked behind her. Ghostface shows up,
Hmm.
and then something about fucking mommy dearest and blah 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 blah.
Hmm.
Always fucking dudes just really just blaming their mothers for a lot. Um,
Yeah.
so and then you get the
Don't fuck up if you're a mom.
yeah.
No room for error.
Yeah, because then you get Roman Bridger, right? So he
Hmm.
reveals himself to not only not be dead, but also be the killer.
But Sydney didn't know that he was supposedly dead, slash, who the fuck are you? Haven't
Yeah.
encountered you the entire movie. And the only reason why that was okay with Mrs. Loomis was because she couldn't encounter her in that entire movie. Otherwise, she would know that it was Mrs. Loomis. Like, this is a completely different situation. She could have interacted with him somehow throughout the whole movie, but didn't, which is a
Yeah.
real downer.
I'm sorry, y'all. Spoiler alert. This is the dumbest killer reveal so far by a
Yeah,
by a mile.
it's so bad.
Because you learn that now not only, and again, Randy's like, hey, all the everything you thought you knew about the past, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
boy, they do the absolute worst retcon
The
in this fucking series.
worst. That you're literally about to talk about my next note. Go.
It is just a fucking travesty that now
Mm-hmm.
not only do we get this dumb killer reveal, but his motive, one is, yeah, again, just victim blaming, right? And two, it's like, now, not only do I have a stupid, dumb killer reveal backstory, but I'm going to go and retcon Scream One's ending and say
A
that
perfect
I,
movie,
a
mind
perfect
you.
movie, and say that it was my idea. I directed Billy and Stu to
Mm-hmm.
kill Maureen and
Mm-hmm.
drive all just basically the series of events, and all of this being
Mm-hmm.
tied back to him because he, I guess, found Maureen, and Maureen, which I don't believe she said this, was like, nope, she's dead. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of here, child. I don't care nothing
Mm-hmm.
about you. I feel like that would be, and come up with something else. I think I would at least be like, I don't know who that person is. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
don't know. Come some
Yeah. Some
other one.
bullshit.
So
Yeah.
either way, it didn't matter
Obviously,
what
there's a
Maureen was
lot
going to
of
say.
trauma attached to him and his existence. Like,
He's just all over the place. And I'm like, why would you even come after Sydney then? What? Like, other than the fact
mm-hmm.
that, like, oh, you get to be the daughter that, or the kid that she kept, I guess.
Yeah.
So you deserve all of this. And then also, I'm taking a breather while you go to college.
I know he
I've
doesn't
nothing to do with
explain
that.
that. Yeah, he's just like glad somebody like decided to do their own thing. He says
Yeah.
something about like people making their own movie.
Well, he said, I think he, helped Billy and Stu with killing
Hmm.
Maureen, but I think kind of go everything beyond that, like the whole ghost face mask and all this. So, like he was just like he was like,
Hmm.
oh, I didn't think they were going to go off and just do kind of their own thing. So like he
Yeah.
wasn't involved with any of the other killings in Scream. You know what I mean? I don't think he had like
Hmm.
he had a hand in, or cared about, fucking Steve and Casey and Hembry and Tatum and
Mm-mm.
Kenny, you
No,
know.
he's like, just do whatever you need to do to make this work.
Yeah, and just back and forth between like blaming Sydney and blaming his mother and, you know, because she was such a slut. And
So,
I
like, with this
guess
expression, they fucked her 3 ways from Sunday. What? I've never heard that expression except for in this movie. Have you? Is this another
some
phone tree situation?
some version of it. I don't think it's about like being like fucked, but like,
No, not specifically, but
like
the
I've
3 ways from Sunday.
yeah, I've heard some version of that before.
Okay.
So
I'm just not in the loop,
yeah,
apparently.
you didn't know what fucking standing something was. Jesus.
Lord.
Where are you with
Yeah.
your colloquialisms? Um,
Lost.
then he's like, "Hey, I got another surprise for you." Goes and brings out Milton,
Uh-huh.
who's like, "Hey,
She's like,
let's
who the
kill."
fuck is this guy?
Yeah, she's like, "I don't fucking
She looks
care about."
confused too. Nev Campbell does a really good job of like when he pulls off the mask, like she's like, should I know you?
Yeah, like I don't know about any of this like Reno Reynolds shit. I don't know about like what is all of this? Y'all need to fucking
Where even am I right now?
stop dragging me into your fucking just bullshit, man.
Yeah, it's
And
so much bullshit
I
that Sydney
know.
has to deal with.
Yeah, and then fuck Milton. He slits his throat. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
like
it's
that
not
Milton really tries though. He's like, anything you want, like you got it. Like,
final cut. I thought that was a pretty good line. And then
yeah, yeah,
Roman's like, I already have it.
yeah,
So that's cool. As I said, I'll try to give this some credit where I
yeah,
can.
yeah.
Yeah, but gosh, and then and then his whole thing is like, oh, yep, I already left what's going to be a fake voice message saying, to frame Sydney for the killing.
That's Roman. Roman, what? How? How is he going to frame her? What evidence is going to
Yeah,
place Sydney at these places like or at these murders other than that voicemail? Like it and Disney just said like I'm going to make you pay. Like that could mean anything. It doesn't necessarily mean murder. Like that is just mm-mm,
yeah.
mm-mm.
And also, I'm like, how I just don't understand how this whole thing's going to work if he would have to kill everybody. Because I mean, even
Yes.
if he like didn't kill Galen Dewey, he'd be like, they'd be like, wait, hold on, Roman's alive? We saw you dead.
Yeah, and
You
Sydney sure
know?
didn't tie us up.
So the whole
So
thing,
many issues.
I don't know, whatever. So you have again, this whole thing is dumb because, like I said, it not only is its own kind of dumb ending, but it really makes an attempt to ruin the first movie.
Yeah.
And I think as much as I love Scream, I think that is very close to unforgivable act and probably
Oh,
the biggest biggest mark against this movie.
oh,
Um
absolutely.
so
100%.
so by the time you're at the end of this movie, I'm like, I don't fucking care. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care about any of this, and I just feel exhausted and let down, to
Yeah.
be honest. And
Sydney does do a good job of kicking his ass though.
yeah, that was a pretty good scene kind of between them. You have, Gale and Dewey being fucking dumb. Not
I know there's
not
so
knowing
much
how to get
like
in.
banging, like grab a chair, grab something heavy. Like they're just yelling back and forth. I'm like, y'all, we didn't need all that. Like they're doing too much.
But yeah, no, it's pretty good. Like how she puts him down. It's pretty
Yeah,
fun.
I don't like the hand holding.
No.
Like I get that we want to make Sydney seem like this empathetic, sympathetic person. And I guess in this particular movie, he didn't kill anyone that she knows and loves. Like it's all strangers. But he just took credit for all of your past fucking trauma, pretty much. So, like, there's no hand holding to be had. I don't care if he's your long lost brother or what his fucking reasons are for being a murderer. Like she even yells it out to him. Like she's like, you like it's nobody's fault. Like take some fucking responsibility. Like you kill people because you like to kill people. Like just
Yeah.
say that. Um, so the hand holding thing feels really annoying. I think that was a Halloween in Halloween H2O as well. The hand holding between Lori and Michael. Like I was like, what? Nobody's holding
No, get
hands. Get the fuck out. Like I, I'm sorry. Like I would consider us very good friends. If you went on a murdering spree that like was of all my like close love my family members, like if you
Mhm.
motivated someone to brutally murder my mom, I would not be holding your hands if you were bleeding out to death. I'd be like, fuck you, Kyle, bleed out.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Like, and leave the room.
Now, I did appreciate it's your turn to scream, asshole.
Yeah, I did like that too.
That was a
Yeah.
pretty good
They
line.
have a few good one-liners for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so fuck Roman is the killer. This whole thing's kind of a letdown.
Yeah,
Um
totally.
but I did like how she kicks his ass, puts him down. I don't like the hand holding, especially when you're leaving. She leaves like he has another hand easily available, another arm ready to do whatever the fuck he needs to do.
Right? And now he's got you
And
gripped, like, and that was a firm handhold.
yeah, I'd be like, I'm regretting this already. You need to let go a little bit. So stop it. Um, Dewey and Gale make their way in. I mean, I would say too late because Sydney's already taken care of it as she does,
Yeah.
but Dewey does help out in a little bit. I like that he pops back up and the multiple shots to the chest and just only pushes him back and he keeps trying to run at them through it, you know? I do like that. And then
Yeah,
of course,
I love how motivated he is for sure. A
and then
lot of
just
rage there.
and then Sid and Gale just yelling at Dewey, like, Dewey,
Dewey's dead.
the
Like,
head, Dewey. And
yeah, I'm
he's like,
trying.
what?
Wait, so in the first one, Sydney kills Billy, right? And who kills Stu? Gail?
Well, is Stu dead? I don't know.
Oh no, Sydney kills Stu, duh, with the
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 TV.
TV. Yeah, so she kills both of them. Then the second one, she kills Mrs. Loomis. And who kills Mickey?
Both
Both Gail and
Gale and
Sydney
Sydney.
together.
Yeah.
So up until now, like Dewey has not done his parts. He's been out of commission in the final fight both times. So I like that he got to get somebody this time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And not in a way that like makes him seem super heroic. Like Gail or Sydney would have done that way more efficiently than Dewey did. Like they would have been like bam right in the head first shot. Like he needed
Oh,
some guidance from his supporters.
yeah, between Billy and Mrs. Loomis, they're like, no, 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 we know how to do this right through the fucking
We're
eyes.
we're going yeah, right between the eyes.
Aw, little matching wounds for mother and son. I like that. That's cute. So
Adorable.
that's kind of it. It just kind of ends there. Like we'll cut over to, I mean, Kincaid is still alive, unfortunately, and they cut over to Sydney's house,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, they're just hanging out. Oh gosh, oh yeah,
Oh,
the
Dewey
the
proposes
proposal, right, right,
with
right,
that
which
dumb book. Like that's silly.
was a little
I
silly.
think it's cute. I think it's cute that he proposes. At Sydney's house, kind of a weird choice before like a late afternoon movie.
And a weird jump to yeah, you need to close those windows because like that sun's just gonna glare.
I
You can't
know. I'm like,
not
who watches a movie at like it looked like it was like what, like sunset?
yeah,
That's when the worst time to watch a movie.
especially
Like,
for a horror movie.
yeah, if you're listening to this, you all know what it's like watching a horror movie during the daytime. Like, there have been times where I watched like half a movie and I was like, I don't fucking know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, the dog makes it. I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's like, why is Kincaid there? Get out of here. Like, and even when he
Yeah.
delivers those lines of like, we're gonna watch a movie, like, and then she's like, what kind of movie? He's like, come and find out. Like the way he delivers every
Ugh.
line is so bad. Patrick Dempsey, like we know you're better than this.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's how the movie ends.
Sorry, y'all. That's Scream 3.
I feel like we were way more, I was way more harsh than I thought I would be, to be honest.
I think so too. I thought you were going to be a little nicer than I was, but no, I feel like we've been generally, like I said, I think all of this is fair and justified, right?
I do
Um,
too. Yeah.
I'm gonna quick skim through. Man, there's just way too many dumb, unnecessary awards shows.
Oh, here we
Um,
go.
but the one that I'm just rolling through real quick, MTV Movie and TV Awards. I don't think they had any winners, but Nev Campbell was nominated for Best Female Performance, didn't win, and Parker Posey was nominated for Best Comedic Performance, but
Good for
lost
her.
to Adam Sandler in Big Daddy.
Oh.
And Parker Posey is better. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Choice
Mm-hmm.
Sleazebag. I don't know if you remember that
Mm-hmm.
category. That's from the Teen Choice Awards. Scott
It's
Foley
the
was
best category.
nominated. Yeah.
Okay, he was
Um,
nominated, but he didn't win.
didn't win. And the winner, Teen Choice Award for Choice Chemistry,
Oh,
between Courtney Cox and David Arquette.
very good. I'm
Sure.
glad I touched on that. I agree.
And then I think with a little bit more of a prestige as far as like genre stuff goes, you have the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards and your 2001 winner for Best Supporting Actress, Parker Posey.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So that's all I got. I think it's time for some taglines.
I'm ready.
All right, so what you got?
How many taglines do you think there are?
Mm, I'm gonna say nine. To
Was Scream the highest?
I we forget. There was some other one that was the highest. It was unnecessary.
Yeah, I'm so bad at ranking this. Oh, it was Valentine.
Right.
Yeah, it was Valentine. So it goes Valentine, Scream, Friday the 13th.
And then
And
this one.
this one's gonna knock Friday the 13th out of third place.
All right.
So
How many taglines we got?
there's 15.
Fuck. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's
And
rapid fire.
I think a lot of these are terrible.
Oh,
So,
Jesus.
and we're really focusing on the year that this movie comes out. You ready?
I'm gonna keep my thumb in the down position then. And we'll see if I need to move
And then
it. So yeah.
you can say thumbs up when you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. The third and final chapter in the trilogy that made you laugh and made you scream.
Hmm.
No, it's a
Sideways
thumbs
at
down.
best.
It's a
Yeah.
thumbs down. The Millennium starts screaming. Mm-mm.
That's bad too.
I hope you're ready for more of the Millennium. The Millennium starts with a scream.
Awful.
Yes. The new Millennium begins in panic.
Begins in panic?
They just keep going. Millennium.
That's stop. That's awful. Okay, next.
Okay. In order for Sydney Prescott to survive the future, she must look to the past. Do you remember any of these
I
taglines?
think she needs to survive the present.
Yes, yes. That's great. Yeah.
Okay, thumbs down.
Rules of a trilogy. Chapter 1 sets the rules. Chapter 2 bends the rules. But in the finale, forget the rules. That's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah.
And
Sideways.
still not great. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Someone has taken their love of trilogies one step too far.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
like that they
think,
carried that through. Sure.
yeah, thumbs up.
The most terrifying scream is always the last. It's not the last.
Yeah.
Spoiler
And
alert.
and is it the most terrifying one, the last one? I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's your scream of death. So, yeah,
Guess so.
right? Okay.
Shh.
Welcome to the final act. I like that one.
Thumbs up.
Yeah,
Even though it's not the final act.
it's definitely not.
Not even close.
Not even close.
But I like the idea, just like Friday the 13th, it's like, the fourth one in a series of like 9 or 10 is called the final chapter. I love that.
Yeah.
You know,
It's charming at a certain point. You're like, okay, it's never going to be the final chapter.
yeah.
The best scream is always the last one. Just hope the last one isn't your own.
Mm,
What's worthy? Wordy. It's a mouthful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
There's just some secrets you can't reveal till the very end.
I'm good.
No. Just in case you were missing it. Scream 3, The Scare of the Millennium. They're calling it for first year in.
Sure. I mean, it was, like what, March of 2000? I don't know what horror movies came out in January or February of that year,
But I
but
mean, they're guaranteeing that this will be the scare of the whole millennium.
oh, geez. Oh, yeah. The one that
You know what I
we're
mean?
24 years into. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, there you have it. Two more. The last scream is always the scariest,
Mm,
not the last scream, and it's not the scariest.
no.
And last, not least, but not great, obey the rules of the trilogy or die.
But like it doesn't even follow its own rules.
It doesn't. I think my favorite, always someone has taken their love of whatever it is, trilogies this time, one step
Yeah,
too far. And Welcome to the Final Act. I think that's the strongest one that isn't like matching the first two films.
I
So there
agree.
you have it. 15 taglines.
So let's talk some boo scores. Am I going first or you?
I kind of want to hear you first because I have a boo score, but you might shift mine. You go
Okay,
first.
sure. Um, Overall, the series is very consistent, pretty good. And it's nice. I think you generate so much goodwill with the first two movies that
Yeah.
just, hey, seeing, Ghostface and the crew and hearing Roger Jackson, it's just right, just a familiar, nice pair of boots, you know. So so
It's
I
a pair of boobs.
nice.
I was like,
No,
what?
I said boots.
I know.
Yeah.
It threw me off for a moment. So, okay.
Now, I don't know if they're the best of the franchise, but these part three movies I thought stuck out as gems. One being Halloween Season of the Witch
Yes.
and Day of the Dead, which is my personal
Mm.
favorite of the George Romero movies.
I love Day of the Dead. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I do enjoy it.
It's my personal favorite. And now, granted, the first Nightmare on Elm Street will probably always be the best, but a lot of people point to Dream Warriors as being like a right there, maybe second best with the franchise. I
Yeah,
liked, I mean, honestly, the first four Nightmares are all fucking great.
I agree.
Um, but, and I would totally understand if someone would want to make the claim that the third one is their favorite. You know,
I would not understand that, but that's fine.
my favorite might be four. It's really fun.
Mhm.
Those kills are really fun in
They're really
four.
fun. Yeah, yeah.
So, and they're fun
We'll
in
we'll
three
get to
too.
that franchise.
Yeah, we'll get there. But so that being said, I don't know if I would say Scream 3 is part of that group of, Day of the Dead, Season of the Witch, Dream Warriors, right? I wouldn't put that. Even, a lot of people like
No.
Paranormal Activity 3 and say that that's one of the better ones, and people still
I
cite the
like the
first
third
one.
one
Yeah. I feel like they always go like the odd number ones are always better than the even numbered ones. Um,
for
from what I
Paranormal Activity
Mhm.
specifically.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. I think 1, 3, and 5 generally I think are the better ones. Um, this movie, yeah, I struggle a lot. There are some things that I brought up that I liked about it. There's a lot of things I thought were really dumb. I don't, and just with a slasher movie in particular, like, I don't know, any of, when you take out a lot of the violence, it's, it,
What's the fucking point?
yeah, it's kind of the point. you know, and, I'll probably be revisiting thoughts about this movie as we kind of continue through this series. But you do have some high points. Like I said, I thought the first act or two with David Arquette, he's like prime fucking Dewey. He's killing it.
Oh my God, he's
Some
so good. Also, one thing we didn't talk about is his exchange with Kincaid in the
mhm,
office. That stupid line exchange of him like saying, "Is that a threat?" And he
yeah.
says, when it's a threat, you'll know." And he's like, "Is that a threat?" Like,
Or
is
when
he's so good at just saying the dumbest things.
the look that he gives when Gail's like, is Sid's number in your memory? Your phone memory, Dewey.
And he's trying to like sit there like, hmm.
Yeah. Or when he's talking to when he's talking to Steven Stone, right? And he's or no, I think he was talking with Gail when he was saying something like, people appreciate the positivity and emotional centeredness I provide a woman. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you're
that's
fucking
so
great,
good.
dude. I love you.
That's
Um,
great. That sounds like some dumb shit you would say.
yeah. And I would because I think I can and I do. So, fuck you. Um, and you got Parker Posey just fucking just
Tearing
chewing
it up.
every
Yeah.
scene that she's in. And I will give a full I'll give a half a boo just for Parker Posey alone.
Oh, I give her a full boo. I'm
A
giving
full
her a
boo.
full ass boo. She's the best like new character. Best thing about this movie. Like I just think she's so great.
I struggle with my boo score, and I'll tell you right now, this is on the more generous end of the spectrum
Oh, I'm
that
excited.
I'll give Scream 3 two boos.
Wow, that's low.
And I told you that's on my generous. I was coming in 1.5. This movie,
Holy
like I
cow.
said, you take away so much of, again, the Kevin Williamson dialogue's gone. Sydney is not there for half the movie. All the blood and gore is gone. The killer reveal is
Mm.
stupid, and it retcons the first movie. So I'm like, there are just too many strikes against this that
The only other movie that you gave a two was Idle Hands. And the only other movie that you scored lower than a two was Valentine because you didn't understand the fucking plot.
the movie's dumb, not me. The movie, I swear, the movie's the dumb one. And I'm and
I'm
I'll
dying.
I'll officially at our end of the year, if we have to revisit some boost scores, I'm gonna bump Idle Hands up because Idle Hands is better than Scream 3.
Wow, I do not agree.
I don't know. Maybe I'm saying that now, but I say,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
coming in hot.
I don't this movie gets a two. I don't understand why people are trying to like reevaluate this movie and trying to find some shine on this piece of shit, but it is
Yeah,
ugh, it's rough. This is
yeah.
a rough movie to watch, and it
Ooh.
makes me very happy that they didn't commit to this trilogy being the final chapter.
Oh, definitely. If it would have been the final chapter, I really think that or even the final time that you see these characters, like if they just did a whole new set of characters without this returning cast, I think that would have been weak as fuck.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
So
Wow.
that's where I'm at. Two booze.
Wow. Okay. I have my little list of things that I did not like about this movie, as you did too. And one I completely left out of the conversation. So excited to share that. So lack of gore, lack of violence, or even just blood, more stabbing on screen. That is just so terrible. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Um, that really, really takes it down a lot. Also just the like this makes me sound like such a terrible person, but we're talking about slashers here. Lack of young people being murdered. Like, I want to see teenagers get killed. Like, I want to see college students get killed. Like, the fact that we were planning on being in that setting like has nothing to do with it even. It's just these are all grown adults. they're all pretty like shitty people that, that are getting killed. So it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't hit the same, as like you brought up Casey Becker.
Yeah.
Like that's a perfect example. We didn't even know that girl. We did not know shit about her except that she was in English class with Sydney and that Stu used to date her for 5 seconds. So, you know, that that part bothers me. Only one killer, boo. Not a good boo.
Yeah, I was gonna
The
say.
bad kind of boo. And Sydney's never met him. Like, had no idea who he was when he took off his mask. Super, super duper points lost for that. Um, it's the first opening that has a returning character, which I didn't think was as fun. I kind of like it being a stranger and you not knowing why that person's being targeted. Um, Sydney's barely in this fucking movie. And Gail has a lot of wardrobe changes and they're not consistent. Like I feel like I could have wardrobed Gail better for this movie than whoever did her costuming. So that's how strongly I feel about that. So those are all the things that really reflect poorly upon this movie. And for people who are Scream 3 apologists, oh, I think cousin Vinny might be one. So he's going to be pretty heated listening to this. Vinny, feel free to leave your feedback any which way you like. You can leave it publicly as well. Um, yeah, and as we talked about it, I took my score down half a boo, but it is still a Scream movie. I love Dewey. I love his performance. David Arquette kills it, pun intended. Love Gail just being a bitch. Love it. Sydney's kicking ass. So I feel good about all those things. I think there's a lot of fun jokes. I think Parker Posey is amazing. And as much as I don't want to like grade it on a Scream scale, it's still part of like a whole solid, you know, just franchise that I fucking love. I'm
Yeah.
giving it 3 boos.
Okay.
So definitely the lowest for our Scream movies so far because I've done 2 5s.
Yeah.
So you've been harsher on the Scream movies than I have. What the fuck? What's going on? What world is this?
I think it's gonna flip, and I'm gonna get a little more positive than you going forward.
I actually think that's a fair probably a fair critique. Something that we failed to mention at the beginning of this episode, just assuming you all have been just so enthralled with our Scream our Scream little focus. We've been doing killer rankings along the way and ranking the movies
Hmm.
separately, but so far we are aligned in our killer rankings and our movie rankings. And I feel like this probably is the last movie that will be the case. Not because we disagree on like I'm like Scream 4 is next, so I'm going to use that as an example. Like not because we're like torn on Scream 4. I just think it like enters a lot more into the equation. So right now, our movie rankings are Scream, Scream 2. I'm going to say it's safe to assume, Kyle, that Scream 3 is going to be your third ranked.
That is correct.
Okay, same. And for killer rankings, still Stu holding down number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, Mrs. Loomis
Hmm.
in her white pantsuit. Number 3 is Billy, and then number 4, Mickey. So where would you add in Roman in this list?
Right there at the bottom, number 5, Roman.
Same. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I feel like right now this is boring because there's no conflict here, but we'll get there. We always do.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, he Roman I we'll see if Roman gets out of the last place spot. We'll see.
I know his motive is so fucked because it ruins previous movies,
Yeah.
but they're not to like spoil anything. There are some killers that really just, I don't even know where they fit in. So, I'm glad that we're doing this one at a time.
Maybe our best killer reveal has yet to happen. I don't know.
We don't know.
We
It's
don't
true.
know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, dang. Oh, also, let me ask. if you could replace Roman
Oh
with any
yeah,
killer,
killers.
who would you be? You know, you can only replace one for one, right? So if you could switch them out with anybody, who would you?
My answer is pretty boring for this one because, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'm gonna fucking do it anyway because we make the rules.
It's your podcast.
Um,
Yeah.
I would keep Roman and give him a completely different motive. Did I think of a motive? No, but I I would not want, or even he could still be Sydney's half brother. I think we just need to scratch him taking credit for directing Billy and Stu and their like crusade. Like I would have been happy with him just being her half brother and having this just fucking rage, like, mom issues type situation. So I would keep Roman in a different capacity and I would add Angelina back in. I think we could have done something really fun where she was like she went to high school with Sydney or something and was obsessed with her. I don't know. I think that was maybe supposed to be her story. Um but it seems like an obvious choice, but I like that she was an obvious killer. So I would have put her in there. Not the most exciting choice, but I just my brain couldn't even get that creative on who would have been doing this, if that makes sense. So those are my choices.
Because it's not like I like any of the other characters, unless, like if it was Parker Posey, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of
Just
course, I
for
think
some
for me,
wild reason.
yeah, I think I would switch him out. And maybe if I did, I'd switch him out with Kincaid just so we could just fucking kill him.
And also maybe just like because he was so creepy the whole time, it would be kind of funny to see him take it up like several more notches and have some weird fucking motive. And also like more Wallace. What happened to him? He just disappears.
Maybe he's the killer. Maybe it could have been the killer. Yeah,
Could
I
have been
mean,
the
I
second
think
one.
could have been Kincaid, and he'd be like, "Yeah, dude, yeah, dude, scariest movie is my life because now I'm a killer."
Yeah. It would have made a lot more sense, honestly.
So, anything else you want to talk about Scream 3 before we wrap this up?
No, I feel like we were pretty harsh on this movie. Um, but I admittedly I still watch it, you know.
I'll watch it again.
I
I'm
still go
sure.
back and watch it and think to myself like maybe it'll be better this time. But I think every time I watch it, it's less enjoyable or I find myself like focusing on other things. Like, I'll start scrolling or doing something else because I've seen it so many times. I'm like, I've seen what I need to see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, never forget those wet footprints.
No. All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around, hanging out during our Scream series. I don't know why, or I thought this episode was going to be shorter because we'd have less to say, but lo and behold,
No,
yeah, it's still a big one for us. So,
still.
um, all right, really excited to run through March with you, and then circle back with Scream 4, first week of April.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one. Yeah, just y'all don't have to wait 11 years for this like we fucking did. Y'all just get
You're welcome.
you're welcome. Yeah, hell yeah. Take care, y'all. Three, two, one, Ghostface.
Thanks for listening to our episode on Scream 3. If you're enjoying watching the Scream franchise along with us and listening, subscribe to our podcast and leave us a killer review on whichever platform you listen on. You can find us on Instagram at 321GhostPod and give us a follow to see what else we're up to when we're not talking about Scream for 3 hours straight. You can shoot us an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com to share any thoughts, your Scream movie rankings, or killer rankings. We're dying to hear them. Next week, we take a break from Scream and dive into Deep Blue Sea. Thanks again for listening, and remember, there are no bad Scream movies. 3, 2, 1, Ghostface.